All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. After Warriors basketball, Larry Krueger, Bay Area baller in the house. Good Friday night. We were just saying before we went on that this is, Baller was saying one of his favorite times of the year, sports-wise. This is definitely one of my favorite times of the year, sports-wise. You got baseball starting up. You got the NBA headed towards the playoffs. You've got the NFL draft just around the corner, and even tomorrow we get Final Four action. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. But
San Diego State, Larry, I was telling you
yes,
before March Madness kicked off that I'm pulling for San Diego State because I played some ball with Darian Trammell, who now's been getting some pub because he's had some big games here in the tournament. Larry, I think I told you briefly, but yeah, I was playing in this adult league when I must have been like 25.
right.
And one of my buddies who put the team together, the first game, I'm like, hey, who's this short kid we got over here, right? It's like this 5'7" point guard. And he's like, hey, just watch him play. The kid was in 8th grade. Turns out Darian, he goes to SI, your alma mater, graduates from there. No one wanted him out of high school. No one went to City College, played there, bounced around, went to, I believe it was University of Seattle, played great at University of Seattle, and then he transferred over to San Diego State, where they're going on this phenomenal tournament run. I'll be pulling for San Diego State tomorrow.
I'm not really sure about that game, but I'm going with San Diego State. It's San Diego State. It's a 2.5 point favorite. San Diego State plays great defense, and they got a couple Bay Area guys. Obviously, we didn't even mention Johnson, who's from Oakland. Is it Kashad Johnson? And then DeMarshe Johnson, also from Oakland, is on their roster. And then Darian Trammell from Marin City, courtesy of my SI Wildcats. And Trammell just plays ridiculous hawking defense. And then Miles Byrd is the Stockton guy.
Yes.
But yeah, they play defense, man. They play defense. And Trammell kind of reminds me of he really is like one of these guys that probably should have played corner in the NFL. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to make it in the NBA. He loves basketball and he's pursuing his dream. Yeah. But when I see his athleticism and his dimensions, 5'10", 175 pounds, I'm thinking to myself, you know what, Darian? You probably could have had a nice career as a Pro Bowl caliber NFL corner. Instead, he, chose to play basketball, and it probably ends for him here. I mean, I hate to say it because who knows? Maybe he'll play internationally or something like that. But I just love his athleticism. I love his ability to keep his man in front of him. And even though Florida Atlantic has the big guy, what's the big guy for Florida Atlantic?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he's good.
He's incredible. Vladislav Goldin, is that his name? Yeah. 7'1" guy, 240-pound player from Russia. He looks good. I mean, he is good. Yeah. And they're underrated. But you know what? Before we get into the Warriors, I'll say this. I'm going to wager on all 3 games. I'm going to take San Diego State, give the 2.5 against Florida Atlantic in the first game. I'm going to take the UConn Huskies, and I'm going to give 5 against Miami in the second game. And I'm going to take Connecticut on Monday night over San Diego State to cut down the nets in Houston. What do you think?
It's going to be fun. However it shapes out, I'm going full homer and pulling for my boy Darian and San Diego State. That's who I think is going to be cutting down the nets. But
wow,
it's going to be fun. It's always just a fun time of year.
You think San Diego State, who's never been to the Final Four, and they're going to win it all?
Why
I don't know.
not?
UConn looks good to me. I mean, UConn, Connecticut right now. I mean, I think Hurley's a really good coach. I didn't know much about them, to be totally honest, at the beginning of the year. But that kid, who's also a Bay Area kid, Joey Calcaterra, he's from Nevada. Did you know that?
Absolutely. Shout out to the Bay, holding it down.
6'3" guard from Nevada. I mean, who? So you got to, amazing. You got guys in the Final Four representing Marin Marin City and Novato being recognized or represented in the Final Four. But yeah, Calcaterra is a gamer. To me, the Jordan Hawkins is a tremendous player. I saw a mock draft that had the Warriors drafting Jordan Hawkins in the draft come June. And then, they're a really, really good basketball team. Sonogo is the 250-pound kid from Mali in the center, in the middle, but Connecticut's just playing well. And Hurley, the way they get out and run and they just get easy buckets. And I think Connecticut cuts down the Nets Monday night.
Yeah, they're probably the favorites. They're probably the favorites going into this thing.
What'd you think of the Warrior game tonight? Warriors, it's weird. It's weird. I would have swore that there's no way, my prediction on the Warriors was that the Warriors are going to go to the playoffs. They're going to upset the first, they're going to pull an upset in the first round. And I'm still picturing that. And then I basically said, then they're going to suffer some form of an injury and they're going to bow out. But now that I watch them and the way that they're firing right now and the way
the energy in that fourth quarter, Larry,
it's amazing.
It felt like the GP2 is it was like a grabbing block and he almost had that vicious putback. It's just the energy felt like it was Warriors basketball. But Larry, there was some, I don't know if you want to call it good news, but a rumored Dumas put it out there that Wiggins is back in the Bay. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Yeah, I did.
So, there's some optimism, and no team's going to want to play the Golden State Warriors come playoff time.
No doubt.
When I'm looking at the Western Conference, what the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, I think the Warriors are just on par, especially if they get Wiggins back. They got just as good a chance to come out the West as any of these teams.
Well, the thing about it is, it's like we've been debating this all year. Golden State has no-showed the entire regular season. They're 32-8 at home. They're 9-29 on the road. They just didn't bring it with any real intensity throughout the year. And maybe that's to be expected because they have gone to the finals. They are the defending champions. They just couldn't. They were getting everybody's A game throughout the regular season, and they had enough to beat those teams at home, but they consistently did not have enough to beat those teams on the road. Many of those games were games where they fell behind in the first quarter. Tonight, they did fall behind again in the third quarter. Spurs led by 3 after 1. Golden State led by 3 at half. And then
it was too close there for quite a while. It was too close.
Yeah. And then the Spurs win the third quarter 37-33. But Golden State comes out in the fourth quarter and puts it on them. 43-point fourth quarter. And it was really, Klay Thompson, who amazingly leads the NBA in threes, hit 7 of them tonight. Golden State was plus 18 at the 3-point line. And, to me, it's like where Golden State can really make hay is if they can battle you to an even point on the glass and on points in the paint. And then if they can beat you at the 3-point line, I think that's a lot of ways.
If they're beating you points in the paint, then the Warriors are winning that game 9 times out of 10.
Even if it's a push. I think tonight it was 2 points or something like that, points in the paint. The rebounds were 45 for Golden State, 46. Yeah, they were -1 on the glass, and the points in the paint, I think, were dead even.
And one guy that we haven't mentioned yet is Jordan Poole. Larry, the last 4 games, what I've seen from Jordan Poole, I think the shot selection has improved. Again, 4 games is a small sample size, but he's averaging close to 30 points a game over these last 4. And I like the shot selection, and I also like how he's attacking the rim. Feels like he's been shooting a lot of free throws, which is much needed, because sometimes you need, especially with Wiggins out. Wiggins is that guy who you feel like can attack and get to the rim, but with him out, who's going to be that guy who can get to the free throw line? It's been Jordan Poole as of late. So I really like what I'm seeing from Jordan. Feels like he's taking care of the ball better than he had for most of this year. So kudos to Jordan Poole. The Poole, Klay, and Steph Curry combined for 90 points today, Larry.
Yeah.
I mean, it was big
27
time,
for Poole off the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, the Warriors bench baller came up with 44 points. So, I mean, that's another big angle on this thing. Can Golden State get points from their bench? If they can get 44 from their bench, they're going to be a tough team to beat. Plus, I thought Kuminga, 17 points, 8 rebounds, a couple assists, only 2 turnovers. I thought Kuminga
He was
played pretty
dunking
well.
everything.
Oh,
Kuminga was dunking
he's got so much
everything
lift. He's got unbelievable lift when you think about these guys been playing up and down on the hardwood floor since Halloween, and it's now almost April, and he still has this crazy lift. Yeah, I mean, right now, when Wiggins comes back, and it sounds like you said Wiggins was in the Bay Area, does that mean he's coming? Do you think he'll be there Sunday against Denver?
I wouldn't quite go there. What this is there's 4 or 5 games left on the schedule here.
Four. This was game 78 tonight.
Yeah,
so they're now 41 and 37.
Okay. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to start ramping up for the playoffs, get some legs under you, because I don't care how much you've been working out off to the side. There's nothing like playing in an actual NBA. You think you have your legs back until you play 35 minutes in an NBA game.
Joe Schmo says, I'm really just here for the Pasquale ads. Mitchell and Ness says, I'm here to see Cy smoke a fatty. Give it time. Give it time. Give it time. Eli said, I'm here for Pasquale. Brian Iglesia, 95.7 Brian says, baller with the 805. Respect. Look at that.
I had Brian on my channel last week, and he was an excellent guest. Love talking ball. Yeah, he was big time. Love talking ball with Brian.
Brian says, shout out all those WCAL kids. Brian, are you a Sang Natius Wildcat, or is he a Sarah Padre, or is
no Mitty's finest?
Monarchs,
yeah,
the Butterflies.
Big fan of Aaron Gordon.
Mitty was a doormat when I was in high school. We beat down Mitty pretty routinely.
Okay,
but they got good after a while, huh?
Yeah, they were pretty good when I was coming up.
Yeah. Now, where did you go?
Drew Gordon. I was at Reardon.
You were at Reardon.
El Camino in South City, but I was Drew Gordon, Aaron Gordon's older brother. I saw a lot of Drew, who was also, 6'8", big physical guy, liked to dunk everything. Aaron, obviously, we've seen what he's done at the NBA. He's actually having a really good year in Denver. He's living less on the perimeter. I feel like when he was with the Magic, he got a little too perimeter oriented, but Jokic has him living in the paint, and he's having a really good year over there.
Heck, if you were with the Warriors, he'd be the starting center. Brian says, I could see San Diego State winning a rock fight tomorrow. It's there's so many great, sports fans and one of the things doing the this content creation side of things on the YouTube is like you realize how many people are out there that really have some great content and can bring phenomenal analysis. And I've enjoyed what Brian has added to our stream this year, because he's all over the Warrior tip, and it's great. It's great. But I'll tell you, I didn't think it was possible 2-3 weeks ago. I'm starting now to believe that it's very possible. And when I say when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about I think the Warriors might be able to actually do the unthinkable, and that is sleepwalk through the whole damn regular season, basically just get destroyed on the road, flip a switch, and just boat race the West. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to win the title, but I think they got a great chance of going back to the finals. What do you think?
There's only 2 teams in my mind that could potentially even take down the Warriors, and that would be the Nuggets and the Suns. I think the rest of the teams in the West, I mean, I don't think they were even pushing them to 7. If Wiggins, obviously predicated on Wiggins, but Nuggets and Suns, I respect those 2 teams. I think those teams are well coached. They're really talented, but not to throw shade at Memphis or Sacramento, but Warriors are putting them to sleep.
I think so too. Now, my brother's a big Kings fan. I got to hear about fucking light the beam this, light the
I
beam
saw
that.
we see it in the chat.
Oh,
We
it's just
see it in the
ridiculous. Yeah,
chat
yeah.
every
There's all
day.
kinds
Yeah.
of light the beam, goddamn beam. I'm sick of the beam. But I am happy for the Kings. Their last time they made the playoffs 17 years ago,
Been a
Brad
while.
Miller was their starting center.
Mike
I mean,
Bibby. Mike Bibby at the point.
Brad Miller. I mean, they seriously, Mike Bibby, my goodness.
Run our
I mean,
test.
it's been a long, long time. But what do you honestly think we're going to see? I mean, first of all, do you think right now, this is how the standings are? It's very fluid. Denver's the 1, Memphis is the 2, Sacramento's the 3. That's probably not going to change. Phoenix is the 4. Clippers are currently the 5, but they're tied now with Golden State. With the Clippers loss and the Warriors now winning 2 in a row, both teams are 41 and 37.
And the Clippers have the hammer there?
Do they have the clincher?
I'm not sure.
I think they do. I think they do. Otherwise, why would they be listed
That's what
in the 5
I see
seed?
that too. I see that too.
So they're in the 5
they got
seed.
the hammer.
Warriors are the 6 seed. Lakers are the 7. Pelicans are the 8. They're a game and a half behind Golden State and tied. T-Wolves are 12. They're 12 and a half back. So they're 2 games behind Golden State. They're in the 9 seed. Didn't they lose Naz Reid for the next month?
Yeah, they did. Today? Might be even longer. Yeah, with a wrist. I think I saw
that's a bad
6
break.
weeks or something is what I believe I saw. And
then you got OKC. In the 10 hole right now, they're 38 and 40, and they're 13 and a half off the pace. So they
overachieved.
3 games behind Golden State.
OKC played a lot better this year than I anticipated coming in.
Too.
They got a really young team. They don't even have the Chet Holmgren, their top pick, right?
He went down
the
early.
Big boy out of Gonzaga. So OKC, they got something to look forward to, I think, in the near future.
Clarence Beeks makes a donation. He says GP2 season.
That's right, man. He was electric tonight.
GP2 season. That's right.
Pockets. He's blocking shots. The energy GP2 brings, man, it's different.
I was saying that if the Warriors win the title, I'll chalk that up to a successful trade. If the Warriors don't win the title and James Wiseman goes on to double greatness with the Pistons, then I think you got a reason to bitch. I think you got a reason to complain. To me, it's as simple as that. Now, maybe it's other people don't look at it quite as cut and dried, but James Wiseman, a lot of people feel like, hey, he wasn't going to develop here. He played 24 minutes tonight for the Pistons. They wound up losing to the Rockets in Houston. Wiseman had 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 blocks, and was -6. So it wasn't a vintage performance for James. But where are you on this trade that sent Wiseman to Detroit and GP2 here? Are you cool with it? Do the Warriors need to win a title or advance deep into the playoffs before you would say good trade? Or do you just think that, Wiseman's a 0 and you got something, and so you got something and they got nothing, and it's a good trade for the Warriors? How do you evaluate that deal?
It's a good question. I wouldn't say they have to win a championship this year, but they're gonna have to get to a championship within the next couple, right? Because GP2, it's not a 1-year deal. He's gonna be here a while, so you have a few years to make that work. And for GP2, who isn't older in NBA terms, but you have time for him to make that impact. Wiseman, I was so high on Wiseman when we drafted him. But Larry, I feel like he's just missing a couple things. Like he's just missing a couple tools that would truly make him elite. One is just
rebounding,
the instincts. That's what I wanted. The instincts. When the shot goes up, like DiVincenzo, right? Shot goes up. Where's DiVincenzo going? He's attacking the boards, right? I love that. That's what I want to see out of my bigs.
But DiVincenzo played in a really great collegiate program where you have to play defense, where you have to play,
that's true.
You have to learn how to play. He knows how to play. Have you noticed that? Kerr made the point the other day, and he's right. DiVincenzo can play with anybody. He can play in any matchup, any collection of 4 other guys. You can roll Dante out there and it all works.
It's a good point. It's a good point. But what I would say is the instinctive rebounding ability, it's something a player has or they don't have. Like, yeah, you can coach it, it helps, but I think sometimes with guys, Larry, it's just you either have the ability or you don't. And I don't think Wiseman has that innate instinct. The other thing is the coordination, the hands, I am kind of iffy on the hands. And the shot, like I was really optimistic when we drafted him. I thought he was going to be kind of this big, like Chris Bosh, kind of like stretch it. I think the ball comes out of his hand kind of clunky, and I don't think he's going to be that consistent long range shooter that I was hopeful for when we had made the pick. So all that being said, I'm okay with it. Now, could it backfire still? Yes, because I really liked Wiseman. I don't hate him now, but I don't think his ceiling, but what I initially thought as potential this all-star ceiling, I don't see it. I don't see it being that anymore.
He's just not a super, he's just not a glass cutter, as we used to say. The guys are just super tough.
I blame Penny. Penny trained him as a guard. In the whole pre-draft process, Penny kept like boasting, like he's bragging, like, oh yeah, I trained James as a guard. He's got these guard skills. Well, Penny, how about you teach him how to set a screen? Okay.
So much about being a big man in the NBA is about body positioning, timing. You have to have a feel for it. It's like a game within a game, and you've got to be able to move naturally. None of his movements were natural. Everything had to be coached. It was like he was so raw, and then they probably did him a disservice by giving him free reign that first year to just do what he wanted. And it's just like I don't think he's a great rebounder. I don't think he's got the mentality of an elite shot blocker. It's almost like he's got the mentality of a guard. Like he might have been 6'5" until like 2 years ago or something. And then suddenly he's 7'1", and it's like, wow, I don't even know how to play as a big, because I've always played as a guard. He just doesn't. I just don't know if he's tough enough. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous to question a guy's toughness like that, but I just don't see it. I don't see the great hands. I don't see, but you're also talking about a young player and a player that's going to get better.
Bigs take longer to develop. That's what I always heard.
I would say like 3. I think he's going to be really good in 3 years, but in 3 years, the Warrior championship window will have closed. And so I didn't like how low end the trade was. I mean, they traded a foundation piece big man for what I consider a role player in his 30s with injury problems. And that to me just doesn't jive. But I will say this. It's all about winning another ring. If they can get another ring and they can do another parade, down Market Street or whatever, it's all worth it. It will be all worth it at that point if they can get the parade. If they can't win the title, then it just comes back down to what does Peyton do in future years? What does Wiseman do in future years? Then you got a little bit more of a comparison, a little bit more, of wait and see kind of approach to evaluating this trade. But to me, if the Warriors can win the title this year, it really won't matter after that, because that's really what they're after, right? That's what they're about at this point. Brian Iglesias says, was anyone else worried when Draymond went to the locker room in the late second quarter, right before halftime, when he smashed knees with one of the Spurs players? I was losing my mind. I mean, I will say this. I mean, Draymond Green has found another level, and he's playing absolutely the best ball of his year right now. This is my primary concern for Golden State. I don't see anybody that can really stand in front of them and beat them 4 times in the West, baller. But what I can see is Golden State extending themselves after not extending themselves, suffering an injury or two in the first round, and then ducking out in round 2 because they're injured. So if the idea of Draymond Green getting hurt at this point in the year, it's like, oh man, I mean, they might not even win in the first round without Green. To me, he is the essential component to winning.
I mean, he's the facilitator of the offense. Curry is so good off ball. Clay is so good off ball. I mean, we know Draymond gets the ball. at the top of the key and he surveys. You got everyone running off the screens. He finds the open guy. It's been going down for years. And then on the defensive end, we absolutely know. I mean, imagine what this defense would look like if Draymond wasn't out there. The defense has been bad all year, and Draymond's been playing really good defense all year.
Yeah. I just like how Draymond is just everything. He just seems like his focus, his attention, his attention to detail. He just seems really, really locked in right now. And I don't really worry about him because he's a great competitor. But you know what? When you played in the finals, he even said it the other day. I mean, it's like I can't get up for games in March when I've played in the finals.
They've been playing all year like that.
Yeah, I mean they've been disappointing all year. Niner Empire says, Larry, I've seen Damon Bruce doing some media rounds promoting his new channel. When is Damon Bruce making his Krueg show debut? He is making his Krueg show debut, I believe, on Monday night.
Get your popcorn ready. That'll be a fun one.
Get your popcorn ready. Monday night at 6:00. The great D. Bruce will be in the house for his first hit on the Krueg show. So, yes, his plan is to grow his channel, and undoubtedly we'll be doing some stuff. Eli Bronstein, LOL. They're trying to roast you on Twitter for a simple comparison, Larry. Keep it moving. Oh yeah, because I said that Brock Purdy had a lot of similarities to Jalen Hurts. And there's like people who are just like, they just started watching football the other day and they're like, Jalen Hurts was an MVP. Brock Purdy's a rookie. You're a homer. Ah!
Man. Twitter.
There's
Twitter,
a lot of
man,
comparisons. There's a lot of comparisons between Brock and Jalen Hurts. And all I would say to anybody is that they're not at the same stage of development. Is Brock Purdy better than Jalen Hurts? Well, it depends how you look at it. Jalen Hurts was better this year than Brock Purdy, but
look at their rookie years. Compare their rookie.
Compare Jalen Hurts' rookie year to Brock Purdy's rookie year, then Brock Purdy's ahead of Jalen Hurts. But if you want to compare this year, and even this year, Jalen Hurts had a great year, but I think they had a very almost identical QBR. I think Brock Purdy had a higher completion percentage, better touchdown ratio to interception ratio. So, but I was talking really more about size initially. When I started talking about, I said, hey, it's the same damn guy. What I meant is both guys are 6'1", 225 pounds. And I brought this up because we were talking to, I was talking to Vish, and Vish was like, Brock Purdy's too small and he can't win a title or something like that. He's too small or whatever. This is months ago. And I said, what do you think of Jalen Hurts? You think he's too small? He's like, no, I think and then I'm like, well, you do realize they literally are both listed at 6'1". One guy's listed at 6'1", 225. And I think Hurts might be listed at 6'1", 227. I said, Vish, does the 2 pounds that Hurts has on Purdy, does that make him, a championship caliber quarterback? Is it those 2 pounds that are so key to you? And we joked about it because they are very similar if you just look at height and weight. But anyway, so yeah, I made that statement, and then with Jesse, and Jesse clipped it in a way, and then somebody else retweeted it. Now I got all these jackasses, rah, rah. So there you go. Twitter. Welcome to Twitter. But I will say this. I did tweet out a tweet earlier today about the 49ers and Trey Lance that got almost 500,000 views. It might be my biggest, most traction tweet maybe ever.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me guess it before you say it. Okay. Is this about the trade to the Titans?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Larry, I had my buddy, he might be watching. This guy, he's in his upper 60s, okay? My buddy texted me, and this is what he said. I got to read this. This is what he said. So this is the older guy, not too technologically savvy. He said,
right.
Something just popped up on my phone. Larry Krueger said we could trade Lance to the Titans for Willis and a pick swap. I just saw it now. That's what. So it's crazy the reach that you have. But my buddy, who I talk a lot of Niner ball with, texted me about this rumor that you put out. So sorry, please continue because I've heard about it.
It was not a rumor. I was just, basically, I have spent this week talking a lot about Trey Lance and what's going to become of Trey Lance, because to me, even though the Warriors baller are in the midst of this playoff run, about, run to the playoffs, if you will, even though baseball opening day just got rolling, if you want to say what is the biggest sports story in the Bay Area this week, I don't think it's any doubt in my mind. It was John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and Jed York in back-to-back-to-back days from Arizona at the NFL's owners meetings, all commenting on Trey Lance, all saying relatively positive things about Trey Lance, but not really complimenting his football, just kind of complimenting him. And then all three of those guys were firm in their Brock Purdy's the number one guy. So the owner, the head coach, and the GM are all saying that Brock Purdy is the number one guy. Shanahan is coming out and saying that Sam Darnold's skill set is as good as any quarterback he's ever seen. What? That made me go, what are you talking about? So just, it was really obvious to me from listening to Lynch and Shanahan and Jed that the Niners are trying to do something here. They're trying to support Trey, but I also think they're shopping him. And Shanahan kind of said as much, and Lynch kind of said as much. And I'm just trying to kind of put together their quotes and trying to understand, what the landscape is in the league, and what is going to become of Trey Lance, because somehow in my mind, Trey Lance, based on what I'm reading, has lost some whatever, credibility, lost some equity in the eyes of the 49ers. Last year, they were handing him the number one job and saying, nobody's really competing with you. This year, they're not only not handing him the number one job, they're kind of saying, there's Darnold and here you are. And there's, we'll see this summer. So considering how bad Darnold has been, I find that absolutely startling that the 49ers.
Can I give you my theory?
Yeah, please do.
Can I give you my theory? Because I watch the Krueg show, when I got some downtime, and I've heard your Lance take. You think he's going to be traded at the draft or around the draft from, I don't want to misquote you, but that's what I believe I've
basically
heard.
I'm saying around in and around the draft.
Yeah. Well, so let me tell you what I think is going on, Larry, and you can poke holes in this theory because it's just a theory. I think they wanted Sam Darnold, right? But I think they blew some smoke his way in a sense that they say
to attract him here. You mean
to attract him here? They wanted him to be their third guy, okay? Because there's some truth to it. Here's what I think. I'm just pure speculation. I think say, hey, Sam, Brock's got this injury. We don't know how it's going to go. Okay, this is a very serious surgery that he had. We don't know if he's going to be ready, when he's going to be ready. Trey Lance, this guy's also had a surgery. So I think they kind of played up that aspect like, hey, Sam, you have a real opportunity to play here. But in my mind, I think they're going into it with, we got Brock Purdy as the number one, but they still want to see Lance in my mind. And I still want to see Lance. I think for that first 3 or 4 games, if Brock, I think he could potentially start out the year on what is it? The short-term IR, miss the first 4 weeks. I think it's within reason. Now it might not happen. And if he's ready week 1, then he should probably play because Shanahan and Lynch they prefer Brock Purdy, but I think they blew some smoke Sam Darnold's way. to attract him here because they wanted that insurance. We all saw what happened last year. They wanted that insurance, kind of that safety plan, but they got Brock, they got Lance, they got the two young quarterbacks who, I think Brock is good. What we saw from, I think Brock's good. Now Lance, I don't know quite what we have in Trey Lance, and I want to see it. And I think the first 2 or 3 weeks, if Brock's not ready, that's the perfect opportunity to say, hey, Lance, you're not going to get too many more chances on the Niners. Because, Larry, I could see a trade happening. But right now, I think Lance's stock is too low. I think his stock he's coming off an injury. He's barely played. I mean, he hasn't set it on fire when he's played, although I don't think he's played necessarily bad. So I think his stock's really low. That's why I don't think they trade him at the draft or around the draft. Now, here's what I could see, Larry. If he has a really good preseason, I mean, remember Matt Schaub had like a good preseason, and then, he was a later pick. The Falcons were able to trade him for a third-round pick, or they might have acquired him for whatever it is. You can improve your stock via preseason. So I want to see Lance get a lot of playing time in the preseason to gain experience. But not only that, if he plays well, that's going to boost his stock tremendously. Okay. If he doesn't look all that great, well, guess what? His stock
that's going to hurt his stock.
But his stock is already really low.
Well, that's the one thing we don't really know, because it's all based on, all based on just like who likes him. All it takes is, the draft is kind of an interesting thing in and of itself, in that, if a guy goes fifth, does that mean that many teams liked him, or does that just mean one team liked him? That's the thing. All it really takes is one team to fall in love with you, and then you can get picked. And all it takes is one team to want you, and then you can be traded for. It's funny. The reason that tweet blew up is I think a bunch of people in Tennessee kind of retweeted that thing. And I've got all these people in Tennessee asking me about it, and they're all happy about it because they love the idea, because they're looking at Tannehill, and Tannehill was terrible in the playoffs a couple of years ago. They're looking at Malik Willis, and they're like, hey, Malik Willis can't play dead. And they're thinking, hey, they've got the 11th pick in the draft. The one thing about it is, the one thing you can say about quarterbacks is there's no such thing as trading up too high for a franchise quarterback. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, there's almost like no price that you can pay that would make acquiring a franchise quarterback a bad deal, because the NFL kind of shows us that you got to have a franchise quarterback to win. The question is Trey Lance a franchise quarterback? I don't know.
Well, does Rand Carthon, obviously coming from the Niners, does he want to peg, his credibility, his first move as a GM is to go out and get Trey Lance like that? He would have to feel really confident about, the talent that is Trey Lance. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or bad about Tannehill, or bad about Malik Willis, or also, Rand Carthon is in year number 1 there. So he's got great goodwill in the building, right? He's just establishing his program. So, who knows? I don't know. Trey is so raw, so new, so unproven, such an unknown that we don't know who has him rated where. I read something a couple weeks ago that the Colts may have had him rated really, really highly, but we don't know. So, who knows what his value is? I would probably say, if you said, what's his value? I'd probably say he's probably worth a mid-second round pick. That would be what I would guess, like on his own. If you just said you're going to trade Trey Lance to the Titans, what could you get? You might be able to get their second round pick. But if you traded Trey Lance and a third round pick, or Trey Lance and a player like a Javon Kinlaw, or who knows, a Diamador Lenore and Ambry Thomas, or, if you traded a young player and a third round pick and Trey, who knows, you might be able to get into the first round. And maybe Tennessee trades back from 11, and then, because I think the one thing about the 49ers that makes the Lance situation so intriguing is that if Brock Purdy's going to be the starter and he's healthy, and you do have Sam Darnold, and Kyle Shanahan's talking about having only 2 quarterbacks on the roster, Well, I don't know that I want to keep Trey Lance then, because then it's like, what do you want Trey Lance in a situation with all this value tied up in your number 2 or number 3 quarterback? I'd rather divest myself of that asset, send him somewhere where he can play and get somebody who can help you win the Super Bowl this year. But there's a lot of ifs here. There's a lot of ifs. And what people really confused is that I'm not advocating. I'm predicting what I think they're going to do. If I was advocating, I would say, dude, look what you invested to get this kid. Look at how raw he is. You have to give him way more than 4 games
I'd
to
be
make
more
your
scared
evaluation.
to trade Trey Lance than I was with the Warriors trading James Wiseman.
Really?
I'll tell
Yeah,
you
I
that.
can see that
Yes.
too.
Yes. I'd be way more scared trading Trey Lance away because if you trade him away for a second round pick, and we're not too far off with what we think Trey's value is, second, maybe an early third, whatever it is. Right. I think it's right in that ballpark too, Larry. But I'd be really scared to make that trade. If you do
I would
that
too.
and he blows up, I mean, it looks really freaking bad, because Brock, I think we feel like
And you're
Brock
gonna
is
and
going
it
to be
probably costs
good.
Lynch and Shanahan their gigs. I mean, if they
Yeah.
okay, it's one thing to say, hey, in year 1 of our regime, we passed on Mahomes and passed on evaluating Deshaun Watson because we thought we were going to get Kirk Cousins and we didn't really have time to handicap it correctly. And we just thought we'd go, okay, you blew that. But I'm not giving you a pass, but it's somewhat understandable. But if you have Trey Lance in your building and you can't get him on the field and you can't develop him and then you trade him down the road and he goes and becomes the next coming of Mahomes, you're done. You're done. You're fired. You're fired. Lynch is fired. You're both out. I mean, don't you think? I mean, that one you can't. I don't think they can get beyond. The only way these guys are getting beyond that is if they win the Super Bowl first. If somehow they traded Trey Lance, the Niners, let's say, got a pick back. Let's say the Niners theoretically go and with Brock Purdy, they win the Super Bowl next year. And then Trey Lance becomes Mahomes in wherever, Tennessee, Minnesota, wherever he is. You're still going to look horrible. Your fans are still going to bitch and moan, but at least you can say,
yeah,
hey, man, got the Super Bowl ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all about the ring. You guys weren't complaining when we were having the parade. You know what I mean? You've got like a little pushback. But if you don't win the ring and he becomes Mahomes, I think you lose a lot. Maybe your job. Is that too bottom line oriented, or is that just kind of the way of the world?
Well, one of them would have to lose their job. And at that point, whether whoever they wanted to scapegoat, whether it was Shanahan or Lynch, I agree. Yeah, if the Niners start to decline and if they miss a playoff and Lance is tearing it up, leading his team to the playoffs, and all you invested the 3 first-round picks and you got a 3rd-round pick back for him, like, yeah, that would look awful. And let me tell you this, Larry. My comp for Lance has always been like I feel like he could be like a McNabb type player, like a Donovan. That's what I had always kind of hoped, like that. His deep ball, right? He's got a pretty nice deep ball when he lets it go. The trajectory, the arc on it, the mobility, right? Donovan was pretty mobile early on. When I comp those two, Trey Lance, Donovan McNabb, what comes to mind?
When you comp who?
When
McNabb?
I comp Donovan McNabb, to Trey Lance.
Different. Obviously, they're a little bit different
Of
players.
course, yeah. No one's identical,
but
I see some similarities.
Yeah, I see similarities too. In that, neither they're both athletic, but neither is a runner.
Yes,
they're pocket passers, but they're also guys who can scramble.
They can extend plays.
I think they're really both very durable too. I think Trey, it's ironic that Trey's been hurt because I think he's actually very durable. I think he's a guy that can take a lot of physical punishment. But to this point, he's been hurt quite a bit. We got people in the chat are just losing their mind immediately. CW says, time to cancel Larry again. Oh, come on, CW. And then Chardal, cancel Larry? Chardal.
Come on, Chardal.
What are the odds that I'm ever going to let you come on this show again? I mean, you'll be lucky if I don't block you. Right there. You're canceling me? You're canceling me?
I think it's being misconstrued. Chardal's my guy. I've done a show with Chardal.
Come on,
I've done a few shows with Chardal. But yeah, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
CW says, Larry, what would you take for Lance in a trade? I mean, I would take a first round pick. I would take a pick from like 15 to probably 40. Yeah, 15 to 40. So a mid to late first or an early second, I would take, and only if I had a player on the board that I really thought I could turn that into. And that was part of my tweet, was that I threw out Michael Mayer, Deontay Banks, Kalijah Cansey, Adi Tamiwa Adibare from Northwestern, Cody Mauch, who's got the gigantic gap in his teeth, from North Dakota State, Isaiah Foskey. I'd probably add a couple more names to that. Zach Harrison from Ohio State. I would take somebody that I thought was awesome at a position of need. But like for me, if you said to me, Brock Purdy's going to be the starter this year, man, I'd like to add Michael Mayer, and have two tight ends set. That's just really, really deadly. I think that could make the 49ers quite. I mean, if Michael Mayer is as good as I think he is, I think he's like a Gronk or like a Kittle.
Yeah. No, Larry,
or
I
like
told you before
Kelsey.
the show, I wanted to talk some NFL draft prospects, and I've really, rather than, and it's NFL draft season. This is the point where you're diving in on all these guys. But rather than cover all the positions kind of half-assed, Larry, what I like to do is I like to hit whatever the needs I feel like the Niners are. I hit a position and I go deep. So let me tell you, tight end, defensive tackle. I've really scouted a lot of these players, watched a lot of them. And when I say I've scouted them, Larry, it's a combination
off of YouTube or something, right?
It's a combination of highlights, and then usually you can find a couple games of a guy if you type in, like, if you wanted to see
always be careful on the highlight reels.
From LSU. You could type LSU defense and it pops up. So I've been scouting these guys. Michael Mayer, when you say Gronk, that was the first guy who came to mind. Just the way he's built, the way he blocks. I mean, Larry, PFF, I subscribe to PFF. I see what they got
his
going on.
His nickname, by the way, is Baby Gronk.
It makes a lot of sense. The dude's a beast in the run blocking grade. He's got the highest run block grade of the draft prospects that I've seen in terms of PFF. But not only that, Larry, the guy's a phenomenal route runner. He's getting separation. Yeah, Michael Mayer, he's an absolute beast, the tight end out of Notre Dame. But also,
he didn't have a great workout. It's funny. He didn't have great workouts,
but it wasn't
which
bad.
have hurt him a little bit. So, I mean, like, a lot of people thought he was going top 10. I mean, this guy's academic All-American, Mackey Award semifinalist. He was on the Bolitnikoff watch list. I mean, this is a great, great player. Every time I watched him, he was huge. I mean, the guy was monster in almost every single game. And I think he was a big time recruit he was a 4-star recruit by Rivals. So not a 5-star, but he was a 4-star. But he's just
I really like Michael Mayer.
Great player.
And there's
a clear pick.
To me, there's a clear top 2 tight ends in this draft. And it's Michael Mayer. And then my second guy, Dalton Kincaid. Yeah. I really like Kincaid.
Well, what about Darnell Washington from Georgia?
Out of Utah. I like Washington. I think he's kind of stiff. I don't think he's that fluid of a mover. That's a good call. But he's really good, and he's good in the run game. I mean, the dude's so big and powerful. If he punches you, like he punches a DB or a safety, I mean, they're going down. He's really big and powerful. But I don't see him being this like dominant pass catcher. I just don't think he moves that well. Although I do like Darnell Washington, but Dalton Kincaid. I think this dude's crazy coordinated. He's really sudden out of his breaks. He's got a good feel. You see him settling into those holes in zone. So to me, there's a clear top receiver. 2 tight ends, and it's Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, and then my third guy. I really like Sam Laporta out of Iowa. I mean, this dude, when I was watching Laporta, Larry, I was having flashbacks of Dallas Clark. Just like it
Yeah.
was just old Dallas Clark in the slot. He just keeps getting open. He's so quick. He's such a good route runner. Laporta, I mean, to me, that's the third tight end.
And whatever his numbers were, like if I had somebody, send me a thing online the other day about Laporta, and he's quoting his numbers, and I'm like, first of all, did you watch any of these games? And the guy's like, I got him to admit, no, I didn't watch any of the games. And I'm like, Iowa's quarterback, Petrus, was just awful. I mean, he was one of the worst college quarterbacks. Their offense was putrid. So anything, anybody quoting stats of Sam Laporta, I can tell you right now, he's better than his stats because their offense was awful. I mean, truly awful. So he's just a better player than what to me the guys who stand out at tight end. Michael Mayer really stands out. The kid from Oregon State, Luke Musgrave, is a crazy athlete.
He's like a wide receiver out there, Larry.
Yeah,
Musgrave, I like him as a pass catcher, but what the one question I saw that popped up on film was the physicality, the ability to hold the point of attack in the run game. That was my only pushback. I like Musgrave as a receiver, but as a blocker, that's the only thing I'm not quite sold on yet.
Did you watch Tucker Kraft from South Dakota?
Absolutely. Yeah. I like him. Him. That guy's a fluent mover. He can move. I like Tucker Kraft. Shoemaker's got good burst, but I think I'm lower on Shoemaker than the consensus.
Davis Allen. Shoemaker is another guy who we're talking about, the Michigan tight end, who's 6'6", 250. He's a Connecticut kid. He went to Hampden Hall School in Connecticut. And he had like one of the greatest workouts at Michigan's pro day. I mean, the 3-cone showed crazy agility. Shoemaker is a late riser because of how well his pro day workout went. I kind of like Payne Durham from Purdue and Davis Allen from Clemson a little bit down the board. But and then I'll tell you, my sleeper tight end is the Stanford kid, Elijah Higgins, who's he's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver. He's never played tight end. But man, he's 6'3", he's 235. He's definitely has pro potential as a tight end, and you probably get him in the 7th round. So
yeah, I was going to say I had heard Elijah Higgins, a wide receiver. I know. I remember you were big on Jordan Matthews. You like the movement, tight ends, the athletic.
Yeah, it's a mismatch. If you can find a mismatch, a lot of it's just about finding a mismatch. But to me, they're all like when I did personnel work in the Canadian League, I was huge on the draft. And a guy that I worked with at the time, Bill Urbanek, was like, do you realize how failure-ridden the draft is? And I said, well, yeah, no, I was young and I thought I knew everything. So I'm like, kind of gave him the yeah. And he's like, no, do you know? He's like, you and I are going to go do a breakdown. I'm going to show you a breakdown that I did when I was in Cincinnati with the Bengals. This was like 4 or 5 years before. And I'm going to show you the miss rate in the first round, the second round, the third round, the fourth round, all the way right on down. Yeah. By the way, do you know what round of the draft produces the highest percentage NFL players? You're never going to get this.
You're telling me it's not the first round?
It's not the first round.
Wow.
But think about it logically. It's actually undrafted free agents.
Whoa.
Undrafted free agents. There's more undrafted players that make the NFL than any particular round of the draft, partly because the rounds are limited to 32 players and there's a lot of undrafted players. That's part of it. There's obviously a lot of undrafted players, but just the fact of the matter is that there's more undrafted guys that make it than first round picks that make it. That's an eye opener. And when he started showing me the failure rate, I started realizing that, you know what? The draft and handicapping the draft and breaking it down, it's about identifying false favorites, because every single one of these guys is first team All-American, 4'3", 4'4", 225 pounds, 18 times. Well, they all have good workout numbers. Not all, but a lot of them have good workout numbers. But it's guys bomb all the time. Guys bomb all the time.
I did my own exercise. This was a few years ago, but I went back and I had looked at a few drafts to see. Just the first round is what I did. And Larry, you can tell me if this is on par with what you've seen over the years. But just the first round, it looked like 30% were either good players or really good, like all pro. 30% were good players. 30% were pretty good, like they were solid. Like, and if they're solid, you know them. And then 30% were busts. That was the first round. When that was my exercise, when I went back and looked at it, that was kind of how it looked to me. And absolutely.
Well,
it's
okay,
a crapshoot.
So if we just let's type in 2019, because that was enough years ago to.
Yeah.
2019 NFL draft. Okay. Type in 2019 NFL draft. And we go to the Wikipedia page, and now here's the draft. Okay. This is how the first round went in 2019. This is only 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Kyler Murray, number 1. He's still in the league, but how good's Kyler Murray? Nick Bosa, number 2. Obviously a star.
Stud.
Quinnen Williams, number 3. Stud. Monster. Raiders took Cleveland Farrell, 4th. Bust. He's now here in San Francisco. Buccaneers took Devin White, 5th.
Stud. Good player. Yeah.
New York Giants took Daniel Jones, 6th. Of all the guys we've discussed so far, he just signed for the most money. But he's not been very good.
He was looking like a bust till Brian Dable revived his career over there.
Right. Number 7, Josh Allen. Not Josh Allen, quarterback. Josh Allen, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, the Bednarik Award winner from Kentucky, the edge rusher. Good player. He plays for Jacksonville. 8th pick, TJ Hawkinson. He doesn't play for Detroit anymore. He plays for Minnesota, but he's been a fairly good player. 9th pick, Ed Oliver for Buffalo. He's been pretty good. Won the Outland Trophy, but he hasn't been awesome. Devin Bush for Pittsburgh. They cut him. He's now in Seattle.
Bust. He's not good.
He's not even there anymore. Jonah Williams, Cincinnati. They may trade him here in a couple weeks. He's bombing as a left tackle, but may move to right tackle. Rashawn Gary went 12th to Green Bay. He's a beast. Monster. Yeah. Christian Wilkins went 13 to Miami. Monster.
Good player.
Yeah. Dwayne Haskins is no longer with us, sadly. He went 15th. Chris Lindstrom, offensive lineman, went to the Falcons. He's been pretty solid. Brian Burns went to Carolina at 16. Solid.
Beast.
Dexter Lawrence went 17 to the Giants. Really good there. Yeah. Jeffrey Simmons went 19 to Tennessee. Great player there.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if you go down this list, Andre Dillard, bust from the Eagles. A couple picks later, Josh Jacobs, tremendous player. Montez Sweat went 26. He's really good. Jerry Tillery.
Jonathan Abram and Jerry Tillery.
Been kind of a bust, and Tillery's definitely been a bust. He's no longer.
LJ Collier, that guy hasn't done nothing.
LJ Collier, bust. DeAndre Baker, I think, got arrested, right? Didn't he get arrested from in that deal with he went to Seattle? Caleb McGarry's in the league. N'Keal Harry's had concussions. He's been a bust. Byron Murphy's pretty solid. Rock Ya-Sin.
There's some good players, but there's a lot of busts there in that first round. A lot of busts.
Who went 36? A couple places later. Debo. Debo's been great. He went 36th. My point is just that there's all kinds of mistakes. There's all kinds of guys who, get drafted and they can't play, and it's just the way it is. It's like, and if you go further back, you'll find even more mistakes, but there's just it's failure ridden. The whole thing, it's failure ridden. That's my point.
It is. So let me, you gave me your tight ends. My sleeper tight end. Well, he's not a sleeper anymore after the combine show he put on, but Zach Kuntz out of Old Dominion. I really like Kuntz, Larry.
6'8" guy who runs 4.5.
And he only played 5 games this past year. You know, he had a knee injury, but the year before that, he caught 70 something balls. He was super productive. 6'6". You don't get athletes.
6'8". Guy's 6'8".
Okay, yeah. I think I saw 6'7" something, but you don't get athletes with that size and that speed. But it's not only that. He's got some shake to his routes. I really like Zach Kuntz. He's got a respectable blocking grade in terms of when I'm talking PFF. So, because
no, I like him a lot, and
I like
he's
Kuntz.
an all. He's all. He
That's
was
my
all.
guy. And he's going to be there in the 3rd round. Some of these guys that
No
we really
question.
like, you know, like Laporta. I don't think he's going to be there. And the Niners might have to move up to get a guy like that, to get a Michael Mayer. But Kuntz is going to be there with one of those 3rd round picks. And that's a tight end. I think that'd be a really good, intriguing tight end too.
No question. And that kid's an academic, All-American. He got his degree at Penn State already in marketing before he transferred to Old Dominion. He comes from an athletic family. His dad played football at the University of Maryland. His brother played football at Penn State. His sister played basketball at Westchester. I mean, this is a super athletic family. And, you know, kind of like Brock Purdy's family, to be honest. I mean, Brock Purdy came from his dad was a pro baseball player. His sister, I believe, was a collegiate athlete. You know, it's just some families just have all the genes. Brian Iglesias, it's pretty telling that what Kyle thinks of his quarterbacks by play selection. The playbook looks wide open with Jimmy and Brock. With Lance, the playbook looked condensed and limited. The eye test tells all. Yeah, I mean, we'd have to talk to Kyle Shanahan why he calls it differently for Trey. But, you know, I went back to that first game that, by the way, Mario's like, Larry's drinking cognac. Now, Larry's drinking actually a Coke with some ice in a glass. And somebody said Jack and Coke. What do you think this is? Sophomore year at Sac State? I'm drinking Jack and Coke. That's such a college drink. Jack and Coke.
Hey. Every once in a while, every once in a blue moon, I'll mix it in. It's like that's one of those where it's like but when you're tailgating before a game and it's like you're walking in, it's like, oh, you got a Coke and you just load up on some Jack. It's like the perfect beverage just down as you're just walking into the stadium.
Dude, my buddy in college used to be like, we used to call his nickname was Courvoisier and Coke. We called him CC. Hey, what's up, CC? Because we went to a bar freshman year, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll get a Courvoisier and Coke." And the way he said Courvoisier and Coke, we started calling him CC from then on. We're like, "Hey, CC, what's going on, CC?"
Love it. That's how nicknames are supposed to develop.
Well, yeah. Okay, so one of my favorite nickname stories came from the NFL draft party. Okay, so me and my buddies used to get together after college, and we used to have a draft party, right? An NFL draft party. And and this is when the draft was like on Saturday morning. And we'd go out the night before and, you know, whatever, chase girls, drink beers, hang out, whatever. You know, we're all just in college or right out of college. None of us were married or anything. So we're just having a good old time. But we would get together, and then when the draft started, we would make rules. So it would be like, shots we'd have, you got to slam your beer if it's like a running back or a wide receiver. Like if whatever you're drinking, if the pick comes up, it's a running back or a wide receiver, you got to slam your beer. If it's an offensive or defensive lineman, we do a shot, right? We do a shot of something, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. We were, if it was a corner or a safety, we would take hookah hits from the hookah, right? That my buddy had a hookah. So needless to say, we're fucking trashed.
Let's relive that one. If you bring that one back, invite me. I'll be there.
Oh, seriously, you would love this. So I got to tell you this story. And we're all Niner fans. So we're getting together at a different house every year. We get together at my buddy's house in the outer Richmond. The year that who was the linebacker that the Niners drafted from Michigan State in the first round?
What year are we talking?
We're talking about like 2004 or 5. Julian Peterson. Julian Peterson.
Beast. I love
Remember Julian Peterson?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Get after a quarterback.
Maybe I got to look up what year this was because I got to tell this story the right way.
Julian Peterson, that was like one of my favorite Niners growing up in my childhood. He was like,
he was a cool guy too.
Jeff Garcia was the quarterback, and he had to gravitate to someone talented. It was Julian Peterson. So this is the 2000 draft. Okay. 2000 draft. We're all Niner fans. One of our buddies is it's 2000, so we're 20. We're working. I think that he was going to law school at the time, and this guy that was in his class was a Raider fan, and he's like, "Can I bring my Raider fan to the draft party?" And we're so immature. We're like, "Fuck no." No, fuck no. We're not. Don't take. No, your Raider fan cannot come to our Niner draft party. We're like saying no. We're putting out a email chain. No, your buddy's not invited. No. All right. But how was this communicated in 2000?
It was probably like an email strand.
Okay.
I think we emailed and we're all like, fuck no.
Home phone
tell
call.
it was not even a phone call. It's like an email thing. It got passed around. Is it okay if Damon brings, not Damon Bruce, different Damon. Can Damon bring his buddy? He's a Raider fan. And like, I'm one of the main people they asked. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Just trashing. So the guy shows up. Anyway. And he is the most obnoxious person I think I've ever met. He's just yelling and screaming and swearing and talking all kinds of trash and literally baller. Every 5 minutes, this isn't the draft start at like 9 a.m. He's walking around going, "We're getting a fucking linebacker. We're getting a linebacker. And he's like trying to hit guys and, he's yelling that they're going to get a linebacker. So now fast forward, the Niners and the Raiders pick, and the Niners and the Raiders both picked. I think it was back to back. Let me double check this. I think it was back to back. Where is it? Do I have it? Oh, here it is. So the Niners pick. Yeah. So the Niners pick 16 and the Raiders pick 17. Right. And this guy's losing his mind. We're going to go a linebacker. We're getting a linebacker. Anyway, the commissioner goes to the podium and the 49ers with the 16th pick in the 2000 NFL draft select Julian Peterson, linebacker, Michigan State. So now we're all Niners got the linebacker, F you, go to hell, Raider fan. You're not getting any linebackers.
Absolutely. That's a big time rivalry.
And
one
we're
of my
talking,
first games was a preseason game, Raiders Niners at Candlestick, and the fights that I saw as a child in that stadium it was just a big time rivalry. So continue, Larry.
So anyway, this guy is losing his mind, and he's like, we're going to go linebacker anyway. I love Keith Bullock. Keith Bullock. We don't want Peterson. We want Keith Bullock.
Bullock was a good player too. Yeah. Bullock was pretty good.
He's like, we're going to get Keith Bullock, man. We're going to get a linebacker. Oh, it's going to be awesome. We need a linebacker, and I think he was naming some other guy as well. And I forget who it was, Marcus Washington or somebody. I forget who it was. We're going linebacker. So now we're all standing around and the commissioner comes around to announce the Raider pick. And the Raiders, with the 17th pick in the 2000 NFL draft, select kicker from Florida State, Sebastian Janikowski.
Which that's
it was awesome.
That's good.
People are just flipping him the bird. You guys got a kicker. You guys went kicker in round 1. He's like distraught. I mean, baller. This guy's like depression. He's like, oh,
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm right in his face. And so then this guy starts just drinking heavily, right? Drinking heavily because now he's depressed. He's like, I need a shot. He's like, yeah, you're here. Take another one. This guy gets so trashed. He made the number one mistake of the draft party.
He fell asleep.
You never are the first guy to pass out.
He passed out. Yeah,
you would rather leave the draft party than pass out.
Always. Rule number for the youngsters, you don't pass out at the party.
Don't ever pass out at a party like this. He passes out. He's laying there on the floor. Sure enough, we drink another couple drinks, couple more shots, couple hits of the hookah. We're just all pretty trashed at this point. Right around the 20th pick, somebody busts out a black Sharpie. And we first gave him a mustache. Then somebody drew a what on his cheek, kind of pointing towards his mouth.
Have to.
Then people are writing F you. People are writing Sebastian Janikowski all over him. Okay. So guy wakes up like 5 hours later. He's got pen mark all over him. It says Janikowski everywhere. He's got all kinds of, he's been vandalized. He's been vandalized.
He's going to remember that day for the rest of his life.
Second. This was in 2000. We still know this guy to this day. We call him Janikowski.
Love it. That's how you earn a nickname. No
idea what his name fucking is. No. We've been calling him Janikowski for 25 years almost.
Absolutely.
When I see him,
Janikowski.
I'm like, hey, what's up, Janikowski? He answers to Janikowski.
Well, that's how you got to do it. Janikowski, dude, had a great career. Now, he did. As a kicker, yeah, absolutely. That's insane. Kicker in the first round. But then you look at his career, Janikowski. I mean, this dude's kicking bombs. Janikowski's like routinely hitting 60-yarders. He was a weapon. So
Carstar, Raider fans live in eternal misery. Oh my God.
What's up,
so we've been Graves says, I guarantee this guy later would call himself Seabass. We've been calling this guy Janikowski for 20 plus years. It's now 2023. That was 2000. It's been almost 2+ decades of I saw him one time at a party a couple years ago. He introduced himself to somebody as Janikowski.
What kind of parties are you still going to, Larry?
It was a draft party. And we used to do shots for like running backs and wide receivers. Hookah hits for like corners and safeties.
This is in the year 2000, Cy.
This was in 2000.
Year 2000.
Okay.
And a guy came to the party and he kept talking trash. He was a Raider fan and he kept saying he was going to get a linebacker. And the Niners and Raiders picked back to back, and the Niners took a linebacker and the Raiders took Janikowski.
Yeah, infamously.
We've been calling him Janikowski ever since.
You gotta love friends who you never call by their real names. Like my best friend on the planet, Mark. I mean, all of us call him Guppy, and that's his name. That's what we call him.
Call him Guppy.
Guppy, yeah.
Mark
it was his fraternity nickname, so it's stuck. But
Mark Grace says Larry talking draft should be using his bulky voice.
He wanted Julian Peterson, and I told him, "You'll get Seabass, and you'll like it." All right. And that's why he has Seabass. And that's why we call him Janikowski.
It's a Super Dave voice. I like it.
Yeah, it's Super Dave and also there you go.
Yeah. Good stuff.
What did you think of the game tonight, Cy? Warriors pulled away in the fourth, and I was just saying to Baller that I can't believe I'm saying this, but I kind of think Golden State is going to kind of show us all that the regular season means absolutely nothing.
Don't say all. I've been saying that for my entire life. But yeah,
Well,
I
but I mean,
understand you. Most
okay,
people,
Charles
most
Barkley
people.
said it for a long time. Hey, the regular season, the NBA regular season, postseason is the second season. But I mean, they were so bad. They were so bad on the road this year in the
Still are
regular
bad.
season.
They still are.
But there's now starting to peak, and it's starting to look like. I mean, I'm going to bet my brother that they're going to take the Kings down in the first round.
I just said on Locked On Warriors tonight, if Wiggins is back, and we're the little droplets of information from the sky are just indicating more and more. It's not a matter of if, but when. And I already called the Warriors in 6. I think they're going to get that first round series in 6.
Wow, I
Game
like
6 will be at home.
I'm going to say Warriors in. I'm going to go Warriors in 5.
In 5, so they're going to win twice in Sacramento.
Yes, they're going to win. Okay. I think Sacramento only beats Golden State one time.
Okay, all right, I like it.
Do you really think?
For the record,
you think Sac's going to beat them twice?
I'm saying 6.
You're saying 6?
I'm saying 6 too. Yeah.
Why do you guys think Sacramento can beat them twice?
Because I'm not convinced yet that the Warriors will just magically get over their road struggles. I think there is some truth to what's going on in terms of them on the road, and I do also agree that come postseason, the urgency is going to be there. They're going to wake up. But they're so bad on the road that you can't just ignore that altogether. So I could see them pulling one off in Sac. Sac also is such a great home crowd. They're like that city knows basketball. They love basketball. I think we're all old enough to remember that, the early 2000s Kings when Tim Donaghy infamously ripped them off of a potential world championship. So,
the rogue isolated criminal, according to David Stern, the late David Stern.
Who texted or called somebody a shitload of time.
Scott Foster 7,000 times.
Yeah, he's still officiating.
Yeah.
Still officiating.
Right. He was a rogue, isolated criminal, but he called another guy who still works in the league 7,000 times. But nothing to see here. I mean, it's just like,
wow, is that how it went down? I don't know that.
Oh, dude. All know Tim have you guys seen? Hey, Baller, go check out. Go check out the Donaghy Netflix on it. It's great. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I know
it's phenomenal.
Pretty well.
I interviewed him on my show.
Because he did a lot of press, right? I mean, he's a dirtbag, isn't he?
He did a lot.
You can get him to this day to do stuff.
Really?
Yes. You should get him to lock on.
I will. That's true. I will. That's true. I will. Absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
Locked up to locked on.
Well, because I don't think I don't think you're a conspiracy theorist if someone says that officials rig games. Like, I think there's a shitload of truth to it. It's so easy to do and get away with. There is nobody like really investigating it hardcore. It's like, to prove it would be extremely difficult. And these refs, you can do it in such a subtle manner. Like it's so subtle, like extra fouls. Like football is the easiest, I think, with holding calls, right? Like holding and pass interference, like there's a hold on every play. So it's up to the ref which plays they're going to call those, right? So I don't think you're a nut job if you come out and say it. The amount of it, I don't know, but Tim Donaghy's proof, man. Yeah, and if you actually do your research on that thing, there are other people involved, clearly, and everyone just wants to just ignore it. It's so crazy. I mean, we're all complicit. We never bring it up every day.
Well, I mean, because nobody wants to ruin their, enjoyment of the league, exactly. And but yeah, I mean, it was disturbing. Fozzie says Larry forgot the guest name on Willard and Dibbs a few days ago on 95.7, but he said the Kings would backhand the Warriors in the playoffs. Your thoughts? Go Dubs.
What?
There's no chance. There's no chance of that. There's no chance of that. And Eric says, light the beam. Light this. Light the beam.
Well, people should know context. Your brother's a Kings fan, right?
He is. He is. He's a Kings fan. God damn him. Kings fan. And I keep getting these texts that say, light the beam, light the beam. And I'm just always like, you know what? F off.
For the people out there who are Kings fans going, if you feeling an extra level of scorn from Larry, it's not directed at you. It's directed at his brother.
Exactly. Eric says Kings got screwed in 2002. Get over it. It's been 20 years.
It's 21 years. 21.
Obviously, Mike Bibby's not gotten over it. He's sitting in a gym somewhere doing deadlifts right now. I must get huge. Have you guys seen a picture of
my
Mike
God.
Bibby in the last like 5 years?
Yeah,
it was eye popping. It was
It's like,
shocking.
what's
how
going
big
on
he is.
there?
disproportionate is all I could say.
Guys,
a little
just
too much. Yeah, a little too
freaking-
much. Just not needed.
What's he compensating for?
I mean, you need a new hobby when you get out of the league. Like it was, not that I was in the league, but I used to play a lot of basketball. As you get older, you get in your 30s, you got to find a new hobby because the back isn't feeling the same. That's why I hopped on YouTube, started talking to Larry and Cy. But Mike Bibby just decided to just live in the gym.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. So we've already kind of given our say on the game tonight, Cy, but what did you think? I mean, Warriors boat raced him in the fourth, 43-27, and Green's playing incredible, Poole's playing incredible, Klay Thompson with a great game, Curry's getting it dialed up, GP2 is just giving them a huge shot in the arm, and then Jordan Poole at 27 off the bench. What was the key performance in your mind tonight?
Well, we started the show with two names primarily that we highlighted. First off, did you mention Kuminga? I mean,
we talked about Kuminga. I didn't mention him there, but Kuminga, he was in the starting lineup tonight. 17 points, 8 rebounds, only 2 assists, and only 2 turnovers.
He was dunking everything.
Yeah,
he was dunking
his
everything
lift
tonight.
is crazy.
Yeah, and he shot for 8 of 11 from the field, which kind of continues this torrid pace he's on. He didn't miss a shot last game. He was perfect from the field. Some stats to read you regarding Kuminga. This is courtesy of the Twitter account Kuminga Muse, which has kind of become one of my favorites. In the month of March, which is wrapping up tonight, he averaged 14.2 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, shot 60% from the field, shot 44% from 3. This is over the entire month. The best month of his career. And just adding to that, in this month, Kuminga is about to finish his second year as an NBA pro, which in itself is staggering considering if you're basing his age on academic years, he should be a rookie. I mean, he's not turning 21 until October. And that's what a second year NBA player, using just the 1 year eligibility, that's where they normally would be. So Kuminga's on par with like this year's rookies in terms of age. That's how young he is. So, there's a few people out there who maybe think his development's not as fast as they like. You have to keep that in perspective. And so he's wrapping up his second year. And in this month, the month of March, he made the most field goals of his career, made the most 3-pointers of his career, had the most steals, shot the most efficiently, had his highest field goal percentage ever. He had the most 20-point games of his career, the most 6-rebound games of his career. And all this in the month of March for 20-year-old Jonathan Kuminga. So I'm ecstatic about this kid. I really cannot wait to see what a year from now he's going to look like. Like, I can't wait to see him when he finally gets Kerr's full trust, right? Because you see what happens when Kerr fully trusts you. You play all the time, and you have a long-ass leash, and that's amazing for players. I can't wait to see Kuminga with that leash. I think he's just going to tear it up. I think he's just going to go ape shit. And you mentioned the Splash Brothers having a great night. Jordan Poole is finally, I think, acclimating, assimilating to that bench role. Played 27 minutes tonight, shot almost 50% from the field and from the 3-point line. 27 points. So like you said, whatever nickname, the Splash Party, whatever you want to call Steph, Klay, and Jordan Poole, they killed it tonight. Yeah, they were awesome. And then Gary Payne II, of course, I think was like the name mentioned most, just because tonight was the night he looked like his old self the most since he came back to the Warriors. He looked more comfortable. He was more aggressive and just dominating. He looked like a big at times out there, and the rebounding numbers showed. I think he grabbed 8 rebounds tonight. So, we talked about that. We talked about a little bit about how Jermichael Green has been the casualty of Gary Payton II, and whether or not Kylan Mills and I agreed with that notion. We don't. We think Anthony Lamb still is just getting too many minutes, but what are you going to do? This is this is beyond like any rhyme or reason. Just this Kerr likes him, and there's nothing I or anyone else says or does is going to change that. So he's part of it.
Cy, I will say, I've been the high guy on Anthony Lamb, but I got to admit, the last couple of weeks, he's been leaving something to be desired. The 3-point shot isn't falling at the clip that I want to see, but that's where we're getting some potentially optimistic news, right? We've heard we saw Dumas tweet. Wiggins is in the Bay. So if Wiggins is back in the fold, Lamb is out of the playoff rotation.
Those are his minutes.
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Lamb. Well, I have said, because I don't think he's not a positive, but he's not a net negative. Like, he does some good things.
You're right.
Although
I wouldn't mind him if it was 10.
I was so upset. He went to the rim tonight with like 3 people around him, and Steph was trailing him. So that was like, he has some frustrating moments, but I feel like for the most part, he's kind of just like he's not a net negative.
He's safe.
Plus
he's like
17
he's like the Alex Smith of bench
safe.
Like,
he's safe. But I do got to say, I've been getting frustrated with Lamb a little bit more lately. I'm like, Lamb, dude, you're making me look bad. I've been defending you. I need you to play better.
Mark Graves is right. He had that big block. I saw that.
Look, I know this doesn't matter because it's not about this, but he's a terrible watch. That's the thing. There's nothing fun about watching Anthony Lamb.
Thank you.
I don't think. Right. I don't think he. I mean, he had 1 assist. He doesn't have any length. He's not a shot blocker.
He had 2 points tonight in 22 minutes.
He's just, I don't. There's nothing about his game that I really enjoy. Let me ask you this though: do you like the starting 5 with Kuminga over Looney?
No, I wish it was. I wish Kuminga played the 3. And Looney played the 5. I think they would be much more dominant to start a game. I love DiVincenzo. Even his shooting's been off. He's on a slump there, which hopefully will change. Maybe he was playing too many minutes because he's normally been a 25-minute a night player in his career, and recently that number's been jumped up to like 35 some nights. And I don't know if him not being used to that took its toll. I don't know what's happened, but he's looked a little tired out there. His shooting numbers have been down. He was 0 for 4. From beyond the arc tonight. Those are all 4 of his shot attempts for the night. I would prefer Kuminga in there over DiVincenzo. To me, Looney has done nothing to ever deserve punishment of any kind. I know this isn't punishment per se, but like, he should be a starter. And the numbers, when you look at all the net rating advanced metrics of the Warriors, when it comes to like 5-man units and how they play collectively, like, Looney is just in almost every lineup he thrives. Like, the other players around him just do better. So if that's what you're insinuating that Looney should start, I'm totally with you.
Well, no, 95.7 Brian here says, imagine the lineup of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond. He says, just thinking about it gives me hope. Of the next round against Sacramento, because to me, the one thing about Sacramento and the reason I love Golden State to win this series is because GP2 on Fox, GP2 on Malik Monk, I think he could turn off both their waters. And to me, it's just like, if the Kings don't get double digits from Malik Monk, it puts a lot more pressure on their other guys. And Monk's a scorer, and he scores 13 a game. He doesn't play a lot of minutes. He plays 22 minutes a game, and he's given them 13.5 a game.
Yep.
I think if you can put GP2 on Malik Monk, they're literally the same size. I don't think Malik Monk could shake GP2, and I would love to see Fox. I'd love to see GP2 on Fox for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, a certain stretch of the game where you're trying to shut down Fox. Because the one thing with Sacramento, if you watch them a lot, everything emanates from Fox. Fox has the ball in his hands just an absurd amount of the time. He is the true alpha. He's their true engine. And I just think that the one thing about GP2 that is so exciting is that when you play these teams that love to facilitate through and play through one ball dominant player, you're playing right into the hands of the Warriors because they've got the best on the ball defender in the game. And then, so I just think that, whether it be Memphis with Ja or Sacramento with Fox or Malik Monk is a key scorer for them off the bench, who's also a 6'3" guard. I just think that you can put GP2 on these guys and really shut them down. And I think GP2 is going to be the reason I like Sacramento to get bounced in the first round.
Yeah.
He's looked really good. I just like how GP2's moving out there.
Yeah.
Looks like he's fully back. We saw that block he had tonight where it was like he just snatched the ball out of midair. he almost had that vicious putback. I mean, GP2, I just like how the trainers have handled him. He's looking good, and it's playoff time.
I mean, it's nice that he's so fresh.
Imagine how fresh Wiggins is going to be.
Well, that was my next question. We got a guy right here says Mitchell and Ness says Wiggins is going to be rusty.
Hey,
what kind of? I mean,
for a bit.
Do we have any idea at all? Has Wiggins touched a basketball?
Yeah, Kerr addressed. I can't remember if it was Kerr or Myers, or maybe both, but they addressed that, and they said that he has been conditioning, he has been working out, they've been in touch. It's not like he's just wherever he is, he's completely MIA.
So he's ramping up on his own.
He's ramping up, and then Rick Barry came on Locked On Warriors Wednesday. I mean, that's where it was first announced, and he came on and just flat out, nonchalantly in the middle of of answering a question, just threw in there. He goes, yeah, and Wiggins is coming back soon, so you got to be excited about that. And I just heard that and was like, wait, what? And so when he finished talking, I was like, Rick, did you just break the news that Wiggins is coming back? And he was like, well, I know people, and people have told me things, and I'm not reporting this as like a factual news thing, but take it as you will. Like, yeah, I've heard that he's coming back. And then and then Jason Dumas reported it today on Twitter that he's heard that Wiggins is in San Francisco. So again, all inklings are he's coming back soon. And it's tantalizing thinking about Warriors lineups, especially considering like when GP2 was not in the picture a month ago, 2 months ago, when you're thinking about it now with potentially Wiggins and GP2, like you can have like athletic, really defensive stalwart type, like 5-man units out there with like Wiggins, GP2, Kuminga, DiVincenzo, who's a two-way player as well. And then you could fill in the blank for the fifth one. It could be Steph. It could be Draymond. It could be Clay. I mean, it's exciting, man. I mean, the postseason potential is absolutely there. It's the rust. We have no idea how long it's going to take. Could be a week. Could be 2 weeks, but he'll shake it.
When you add two players like Andrew Wiggins and Gary Payton, you put them on the court, that's 40% of your team, right? That's a huge impact. And both of those players are really good defenders. And as we've talked about all year, the Warriors defense has been lackluster. Now you're getting 40% of your defense back into the line. It's going to be quite a turnaround is what I'm hoping for.
I really hate, and I hate using the word hate, but I really do hate the combination of dynamic pricing and load management, right? I just hate it. I think it screws the fans. Oh, you're going to pay a premium to come see the Warriors. Yep. Oh, the Warriors are in town? Well, they're not going to play their premium guys.
Yep.
But you're still paying a premium. It's like, I hate that. But let me ask you this. What if, I mean, the one thing about basketball that you don't really think of it this way, but it really is true. It's totally a war of attrition. These guys are running up and down on hardwood floors for months. And the whole load management thing is about being good at the end of the season from the player's perspective. What is going to be said if the Warriors rampage through the playoffs and GP2 and Wiggins lead the way?
Well, I think you're seeing that now with other teams this year. I think that's actually not many people mention it, but I do think that's one of the variables for why you have this parity and why you have a lot of these good teams struggling in the Western Conference is a lot of them are taking a laissez-faire approach to the regular season, taking their time with ramping up Kawhi Leonard, for example. If you look at the Clippers, like the Lakers. I mean, LeBron misses months at a time, and unfortunately, they're deep. I don't know. I'm seeing it a lot. Like the Pelicans, I've kind of like taken their sweet time. I see the Suns, doing a lot of load management now. I do think that's part of the reason why the Western Conference as a whole has weakened this year. The Nuggets are the only ones I feel like that have taken it super seriously, and the Kings.
Well, my question would be this: if the Warriors rampage the West and Wiggins leads the way, who's in his prime of his career?
Yeah, 28.
Are people gonna look at that and just say, you know what? This guy hasn't played. This guy's sitting it out. I mean, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example where this comes into play. the Kentucky Derby, the Triple Crown races in horse racing. You'll have, it's really, really difficult to win the Triple Crown. Why? Because you have 3 different distances over like a 5-week period or whatever it is, 3 different surfaces, 3 different tracks, 3 different shaped tracks. And every time you have brand new, fresh horses that didn't run in the Derby or the Preakness, but there they are, all rested and ready for the Belmont. And it's, to me, it seems like it makes that almost a near impossible thing to accomplish because you're always going against these fresh horses. Well, it's the same kind of thing. What if the Warriors somehow get led to the finals by some super rejuvenated, tons of energy Andrew Wiggins? Are people going to say, hey, this was wrong. This guy didn't play the schedule and he wasn't hurt.
Hey, Larry.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say to those people. Fuck them.
No, but I mean, I guess my point is this. Do you think that this will make teams just do whatever the hell they want to do?
Yeah.
I think it's already heading that way. That way. I mean, there's a lot of players taking
the Warriors probably
off.
The Warriors probably didn't have to allow Wiggins all this time off. They just were like, we'll let him do it. But let's just say there was some other team that had some other awesome player, and that player just didn't play for a couple months. And all of a sudden we get to the finals and that player's super fresh. And then everybody else is like, hey man, I played every game and I'm tired and I don't have the same lift in my legs and I don't get off the floor as well. And I'm not quick as I was a month and a half ago. And you're winning because you sat it out and now you're fresh.
Yeah. I think that animosity was already felt by other teams. I mean, I think there was like that kind of, that animus there, like, because the Warriors have been doing this for years. Last year was a perfect example. I mean, did Draymond need to miss 2.5 months? I mean, maybe he did. I don't know. Like Stephen Curry missed a ton of time for injuries, just like he did this year. Who knows how legitimate these things are? I think the Warriors are ahead of the curve, and these are the rules they're playing by, and they're just, they're not breaking rules.
I mean, it's not new. It's not new. Shaq 1 year didn't even have surgery until like opening night,
right?
And then missed half the year. Right. And he's like, the off season's mine or something like that. I forget what he said, but it was like, and guess what? They repeated. That.
Well, let me tell you what I think the owners would do, Larry. If players started wanting to miss chunks of years, they got that idea. Now, fellas, out of curiosity, Wiggins, he's not missing any game checks, right? I don't know, but is he getting paid? No. I mean, he's still getting paid. He's getting paid. He's getting paid the same amount. He's not missing checks.
Correct.
But I could see the owners
nice
later
gig
on down the road. If players are missing chunks of years and they're trying to kind of get away, owners are gonna be like, look, you're not playing, you're not getting paid. I could see that happening down the road. Now, the Warriors in this situation,
Players Union, though,
I mean, everything's at the negotiating table. So that's just what I could see happening. It's not that they're not going to let it fly, especially these lower market teams. Their star player wants to take a month off. I don't think all these owners are going to be as willing and as forthcoming as, and as generous as, understanding as Lakeup has been.
What do you think, Cy? Do you think teams will copy Golden State and sit out guys for whatever reason they want if the Warriors rampage?
I think they're doing that now. It's just like I said, that's a huge reason why you have like this crazy awkward Western Conference with this clumped together this little minimal separation between 4 and 12, whatever it's about. I think it's happening now. I think teams were pissed about it for a little bit. I honestly remember I looked at Chris Paul for years and wondered why he took the regular season so seriously, because you'd see him get spent. And I've had players tell me one of my great curiosities for years was, and it was a suspicion of mine, was that when the Warriors set the wins record in 2016, getting 73 wins, I always wondered, did the championship come at that? Was that the cost of pursuing that record? Because you could see them getting spent, man. I mean, they're human beings, And Leandro Barbosa, I had a chance to sit down and interview him, and I brought that up, and he concurred. He's like, yeah, he goes, in hindsight, like we all said that it messed with us. We were done. We were tapped. Like if we hadn't pursued that record, we probably would have had the energy to withstand Cleveland in the NBA Finals. And
and then Durant never comes though.
Well, that's true. But you're absolutely right. But my point just is that like they do have finite amounts of energy. So the strategy the Warriors are doing, part of it is they learn from that mistake and they didn't repeat it. And yeah, I do think other teams are doing that now. And we'll so that'll be one less excuse for people to have about the Warriors if they do bring that up.
Who's the team that Golden State you think matches up great with in the West? Who's the team that Golden State does not match up well with in the West?
Baller, you want to go for? I don't care.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the kind of the scene. I want to play the Kings.
I mean, and sometimes the matchups, sometimes the record doesn't always indicate.
Kings. I want to play Sacramento. You
want them.
I want Sacktown. Want that NorCal
want that beam.
Rivalry. I want the beam. The beam ain't going to be lit. It ain't going to be lit 4 times. I'll tell you that. And
the beam stirs.
As far that's who I want to play. Who do I not want to see? We spoke earlier, Larry. The only 2 teams I think that have a chance at beating the Warriors in a 7-game series are the Nuggets and the Suns. Those are the only 2 teams. So
you're not
one
giving
of those,
Memphis any run, huh?
I don't believe in Memphis. I'm not buying it. They got to prove it to me.
The Warriors. The thing about Memphis is they have talked so much S that by default, because of all the shit they've talked, they guarantee
they have
themselves
everyone else
that they get the Warriors A game, and they can't handle the Warriors A game. That's my read on it.
Yeah, I think the Kings and probably the Pelicans are the 2 teams that the Warriors would probably have the easiest time with, because whoever the 10 teams are, they're all going to be damn good, man. I guess the Thunder would be a good one too, if the Thunder get in. The Clippers to me are I'm still going to stick with this unless Paul George is out. If Paul George comes back, the Clippers to me are still the biggest threat, just because again, I value World Championship experience at a level that I don't know how other people look at it, but to me, it's vitally important in terms of looking at all the different attributes for an individual and what makes them great. And if you're calculating whether or not they're going to win a championship or how far they're going to go, I think World Championship experience is right at the top of the list for just utter importance. And the only team that really compares to the Warriors in that category are the LA Clippers. And even there, it's really just 1 or 2 players. But Kawhi is huge. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, it wasn't only a few years ago, people were looking at him as the best player in the entire NBA. And
every time he plays the Warriors side, Kawhi goes off. The mid-range is unstoppable.
Yeah.
He's draining threes. Kawhi against the Warriors in particular is just always spectacular.
It's tough.
I agree. Yeah.
It's tough. So the Clippers probably still scare me the most. The Nuggets,
and they got bench help too at the deadline. They're
deep.
Hurts.
They're so deep. Yeah, they're just so the Grizzlies. I don't really look at them as much of a threat this year compared to last year, just because the Warriors clearly own the psychological edge there. I don't know if Steven Adams is going to come back, and he's really important for that team. So that's why I don't put the Grizzlies as high as I used to. I think it's ultimately Phoenix. I'm sorry. The Clippers. Phoenix is a wild card. They could be super tough. They could also be just completely wiped off. I mean, I have no idea.
How about 95.7? Brian says the Lakers. He says the team that the Warriors don't match up well with is the new look Lakers. The Lakers are 7th now, and that's why they need to avoid the play-in. The Lakers did add a lot of length and athleticism. Vanderbilt, Beasley, Rui, Bamba. They did add a lot of length. There's no question. What do you think of a Warrior-Laker playoff series? How do you guys see that going?
It could be tough. It has the potential to be a tough series. I'm not going to deny that. And then upgrading from Russell Westbrook to D'Angelo Russell, that was huge because they needed more shooting over there in Los Angeles. And you mentioned Beasley, you get D'Lo, those dudes can stretch the floor. So, the Warriors have to, if they match up with the Lakers, you got to give them some respect. They have LeBron, obviously, Anthony Davis. I feel like he's kind of had a down year, but who knows? In the playoffs, maybe he ramps it up. And absolutely, Lakers are a threat.
Yeah, the Lakers' biggest issue is going to be health, right? I mean, it's so rare for them to have their whole team together, and for them to win the title, you have to count on that team staying healthy for 2 months. I mean, they haven't been able to ever do that, not since the bubble. When it comes to their lineup itself, yeah, they're a good team. They've clearly gotten way better. I even like Lonnie Walker. I think he's fantastic off the bench. He burned the Warriors. They're a deep team. They're a big team. But I still maintain that if the I believe this strongly, that if the Warriors are fully healthy, and that means Andrew Wiggins at the top of his game, Gary Payne II fully healthy and playing, they should be able to handle the Lakers. The Lakers are bigger, but when the Warriors have all their most important pieces, especially with Kuminga emerging, Kuminga matches up to those bigs. And Draymond does an excellent job handling the Lakers, especially Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis's biggest issue in his entire career is Draymond Green. Always. I mean, you go back to those Pelicans series all the way up till recently.
He gives him problems. Draymond plays him tough. He does.
Tough. And Anthony Davis, you can see the frustration in his face every time Draymond Green actually cares, right? This season, Draymond has been sleepwalking, man. He is the poster child for a player who is there but not there most nights. And he's still putting up good numbers. But I'm not worried too much about the Lakers, man. I think if they battle in the postseason, the Warriors should handle them.
By the way, how great was it the other night when Draymond against the Grizzlies left the game and high-fived all the fans right by the Grizzlies bench? And then basically all the way down the line, I mean, he's high-fiving everybody, but Draymond, he loves to stick it to the Grizz.
He does.
It's awesome. And so does Clay. 95.7 Brian says, the question is when Wiggs comes back, does he get inserted into the starting lineup or does he come off the bench? I like Kuminga in the starting lineup, to be honest. I'm with Brian on this. I would much rather start Kuminga, keep him in rhythm, and allow the veteran Wiggins, who probably can play in either capacity, probably equally well. I'd rather Wiggins come off the bench. How do you guys see it?
No, I want Wiggins back in the starting lineup. I think he belongs there. I think you just want to get him back in that routine. Maybe the first game or two back, we've seen it before. They did it with Steph Curry. Remember when Steph Curry's coming off the bench, and that's when you showed everyone else, like, hey, look, I'm Steph Curry. I don't mind coming off the bench if that's what's best for the team.
For 4 games,
So I could see something similar with Andrew, game or two, getting your legs back. But no, come playoff time, I want Wiggins in that starting lineup.
And adding to that, I think Kerr will almost certainly start Wiggins. He has his favorites. Like, we all know he would never bench Klay Thompson. I think Wiggins kind of fits into that similar mold of the type of player that Kerr trusts, will give a big leash to, and also doesn't want to harm his confidence. And I think he would start. I wouldn't care either way, just because I don't mind players like Wiggins coming off the bench, because then you're bolstering the bench. You're basically just, making yourself a deeper team. So I wouldn't mind it. I don't really have a preference per se, but I just pragmatically speaking, I think Kerr's going to start him.
Bruce says Wiggins could be a decoy. Other teams respect Wiggins more. This is kind of interesting too. This is from way earlier. This is from Brian, who says, Krug, what do you think of Bonte Hill wearing a Royals jersey on 95.7 the game on opening day? I didn't like it.
I don't like it.
I don't. He was wearing what?
I don't like it.
He was wearing a Royals jersey.
Is he from Kansas City?
No, he's trying to kind of, I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's trying to stick it to kind of the Giants organization, kind of with their lackluster off season.
It was a message.
Well, I don't want to speak for him, but yeah,
he's
disappointed with the off
season. It was a protest.
And hey, one game into the year, the Giants they didn't score a run, right? I don't think they scored a run opening day. So
they had 4 singles. Singles.
There it is.
It was kind of, it was like the Giants at a club with 4 singles. 4 singles. It's like you should wave dollar bills around the Giants dugout for singles. The Giants, my God, that was a hard to watch opening day for sure.
So let's talk Warriors then. It's a happy or Niners, right? They're happy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a problem with Bonte wearing whatever jersey he wants to wear, and if he wants a protest against the Giants, let him protest. It's more than most people do in this market, right? I mean,
that's true. That's true.
And the Giants need to be protested against at this point. They've just been really, really. I mean, it's kind of a depressing whole situation right now with the Giants. I mean, they're
acting like the A's, right? Just hoarding all the money and not spending it on personnel.
Yeah, exactly. The Giants were horrendous last year. They made $75 million. They didn't replace hardly anybody. They're holding Joey Bart's feet to the fire, but then Lamont Wade and Yaz, you guys want to suck? Just keep on sucking, Seriously. I mean, Farhan seriously went on the radio and was like, Joey Bart is going to have to be quite a bit better.
Oh,
but what about Lamont Wade? Lamont Wade hit 207. What about Yaz? Yaz hit like 115. He's hit no better than like 220 for like 3 years running. I mean, and you keep leading off Lamont Wade. You keep hitting Yaz fifth. I don't want to hear about Joey Bart. Don't tell me about Joey Bart. We're drawing the line at Joey Bart. What about these other donkeys? So I don't know. It's ridiculous.
No, illogical favoritism is frustrating, right?
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
I mean, could you imagine if Kerr was super critical about one player's production and then another 2 or 3 other guys were less productive than that player? And he's just like,
that's been my whole frustration this year. I feel like that's what he's doing with Moody versus these two-way guys, man. Like I feel like
Moody's got to be great, but Iguodala just needs to be breathing.
Yeah,
right? I mean, is that the deal?
Yeah. Except, I felt like it was like this with the two-way players. Like the two-way players could do no wrong. They're going to get their 20 minutes a game no matter what. But Moses Moody, oh my God, did you dribble twice with your left hand accidentally? Get the hell out of here, man. You're done for the night. 1 minute, 45 seconds.
Santa Cruz, buddy.
Yeah,
get out of here. Go ride the giant dipper.
Let me ask you this. What is the Giants' explanation for their model of success this year? Like, what is they did nothing
explanation for their model of success?
Like, they did nothing to improve. So in their minds, how have they explained this being different than last year?
Patience.
Is that what they've said?
I don't think anybody needs an explanation. It's just like, were you guys going to be any good? Nah, we're bringing the old crew back. We like continuity.
Farhan's prospects haven't quite flourished yet. They need another year or two.
Oh no!
Patience. I feel like that's the sentiment I'm getting. But it's like I'm fed up. What do you mean patience?
It's
like,
funny
are you
too.
Not watching what's going on in the division. The Dodgers are freaking loaded. Look at look at the Padres line. Like, look at what these teams are doing. But hey, patience.
It is a tough sell, though. I mean, the Giants said they want to get younger and more athletic up the middle. They're the exact same guys from last year, just older and worse. I mean, it's amazing. Farhan hit out the entire spring training. I never saw him. I wanted to do an interview with him. I was down there for 4 days. I'm like, God, just wait till I run into him, and I'll go up to him and start talking to him and ask him for an interview. Never ran into him. He never was in the clubhouse the entire time I was there.
So 3 players got a hit total.
3 players got a hit, and none of them were extra base hits. Once again, 4 singles.
That's awful.
It was bad. It was bad.
That is bad.
It was bad. Nate Dogg says trade Farhan, Kapler, and spreadsheets for Coletti and Bochy. Yeah, Boch won on opening day.
Coletti.
Saw that. Ned Coletti was here on opening day. You know, I felt so bad, too, because I just wanted to rip the shit out of the Giants because they were so bad. Right. But then I felt bad because Ned was there, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to subject him to my rippage.
Exactly.
So I kind of had him, but then after I said goodbye to him, then I started ripping. It's like, oh yeah, it wasn't their day, right, Ned? Yeah, it wasn't their day. All right, Ned, we'll talk to you later. And then all of a
man.
sudden,
well, the
all of a
excuse
sudden
I
you
was
come back
telling
from the
myself
next
was like
segment.
they weren't
What the
facing
hell happened here?
Garrett Cole. Like I was trying to talk myself into this. I get Garrett Cole's one of the best pitchers in the big, so that was how I was explaining it to myself.
Yeah, and people kept saying that too. Well, it was all Garrett Cole, and I'm like, you know what? We're going to be cap tipping for the next 6 months. Every day, it's going to be like, well, it was Clark Schmidt. Well, it was fill in the blank starter. Well, it was Julio Urias. But it was Kershaw. But it was Bum. But it was Gallen. But it was you can't hit a lick. That's what it was.
What's the logic for because I want to get back into baseball this year. I'm loving the reviews of the pitch clock. It's like
it's quick. It's quick,
right? Yeah, the pace.
Death.
So why do the Giants have a leadoff hitting first baseman who doesn't seem to know how to hit? What's the logic there? Is Lamont Wade good?
No. He's the Anthony Lamb of MLB. Oh. He is. He's the Anthony Lamb of MLB. It's like you're sitting there going, does this guy work? Is he related to the owners? Does he have nudie pictures? I mean, what are we talking about?
He doesn't.
I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what he's doing here. He hit 207. He's not an established player.
His on-base percentage is but
I mean, he's
I don't get it.
He has no real power, but he has no real speed, but he has no real defense. I don't know what, it's the Office Space scene. What would you say you do here?
And he's your leadoff hitter.
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Maybe that's
they all are. They all are. But he's your leadoff hitter.
Yeah. Oh, it's embarrassing.
It's not
good. Mean, your leadoff. It's like your 3-point specialist who shoots 15% from beyond the arc.
Leadoff is so important, man. That's
it's amazing.
So why is Michael Conforto? What a free agent acquisition? Is he any good?
No, I mean he's good.
I like
he was hurt last year.
Conforto.
He didn't play at all last year.
He's had his best major league season yet. He had a good season a couple of years ago. He's dealt with a lot of injuries previously.
Okay.
But he's a sweet swinging lefty. Like he's a guy I feel like he could hit 260, with 20 plus bombs and maybe 60, 70 RBIs. Like I like Conforto. The Conforto and Haniger, we know Haniger was the other big they're probably their biggest off-season acquisition. And what does he have, Larry? An oblique? Or
he's got an oblique, yeah.
He's got that's never good. Obliques are usually tricky for baseball players, but I like Conforto.
The highlight of the game number 1, when I was looking at the notes and I'm going through it, one of the notes in the game, you're gonna laugh at this. One of the notes in the game was that Gabe Kapler told the cameraman for NBC Sports Bay Area to back up. I mean, that's the tire fire that is coming for the next 6 months.
One game.
This is a daily sport. 6 months of, can you please back up?
What inning was that? At what point?
I'm sure it was in the post game. I'm sure it was in the post game. The guy got too close and he's, can you back up? But I mean, still, Kapler, Kapler, I just can't. I can't. I mean, it's not that he's abused me, though I'm sure if he had an opportunity to, he would love to. He's been, if anything, he's just like you ask a question, if he likes you, he'll be like, that's a great question, Cyrus. That is a phenomenal,
his favorites. Okay,
phenomenal question. If he doesn't like you, he's picking your questions.
Really?
So, So give you a couple of years ago, I'm doing interviews with him and he loved me. Right. And every time I asked a question, he'd be like, Larry, I'm really glad you asked me that question. Or, that is really a phenomenal question, Larry, like that. But now, he knows I've been ripping the crap out of him the last year because they were terrible. And so I'm standing there in the dugout and I've got, all I said to him was, I forget who I was even talking about. I said to him about somebody, I forget who it was. And I'm like, it was a reliever, RJ Dabovich. So I had been at the day before game. Right. and RJ Dabovich came out in the 9th inning and he was throwing 98 miles an hour. And I was just amazed that his stuff was so premier.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I said, Gabe, I just got down here, but man, I really liked what I saw yesterday at RJ Dabovich, huh? What'd you think? And he's like, he goes, I disagree with you. And I go, I look at him like, what? All I said was, how about RJ Dabovich? You know what I mean? It was literally wasn't like a question.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, man, RJ Dabovich really looked good.
You were leading on. Yeah.
Yeah. He goes, I disagree with you. I did not think that was RJ's, but if I had come back the next day and said to him, yesterday you didn't like what you saw from Dabovich, he'd be like, I never said that. You know what I mean? He didn't want to be critical of Dabovich. He just wanted to let everybody hear on camera that he disagreed with me. But it was so stupid because my comment was, man, Dabovich looked like he had pretty overpowering stuff. It wasn't like I said that was the best. He goes, I totally disagree with you. Or he didn't say totally. He goes, I disagree with you. That was not one of his better outings.
Jesus.
And I'm like,
you gave him a chance to talk up his guy.
And all I said was his stuff looked good to me. His stuff looked, he was throwing 98. He punched out 2 guys in the 9th. He got him like 1, 2, 3 in the 9th. All I said was, man, his stuff looked pretty good. And instead of saying, yeah, good young pitcher, he's like, I disagree with you. I disagree. That was not one of his best outings. And I said, I didn't want to say anything. I don't want to fight with him, but I felt like saying, dude, are you listening to me? I didn't say it was his best outing. I said, I saw him yesterday and he looked pretty good. But I mean, that's the kind of neurotic Nelly that he is. So get ready for more of it. And believe me, I mean, I'm going to continue asking questions.
I've seen the snippiness in some of the interviews.
Everybody's tight as a freaking drum around him. I mean, it's like you can tell they're asking questions and they're picking their words very carefully. The media corps. Gabe, I have an exchange between Gabe and John Shea where John Shea is just inquiring about Haniger's oblique, like where he hurt it. And it was so awkward that I almost felt like sheepish even filming it. It was like, Gabe, where did Haniger hurt his oblique? I know what you want to know, and I don't know exactly where it was. No, and then John doubles down. He's like, no, I mean, did it happen here in the morning in Scottsdale, or did it happen in the game? He's like, I don't know where it happened, but I know what you want to know, and I know what you're getting at. And I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, dude, isn't this like March 10th in the Cactus League? Everybody needs to calm the fuck down. Jesus. Yeah. I mean, take a Quaalude, bro. Get a Valium in you. Do something. Calm down. Relax,
well, he's not
bro.
taking that. The guy doesn't even swallow his ice cream, Larry. I mean, he's not taking that.
I'm sitting there watching that, and I'm just like, this is why everybody's sphincter is puckered up so freaking tight. It's like, oh my God, we're seriously, we're curing cancer here. It's like, dude, you're a baseball manager. You might double switch every now and then. It's like everybody just needs to relax. I mean, if you're going to be that exact, you going to like it if we're that exact about how bad this team is in 3 weeks? No, suddenly then it's going to be like, hey, man, why you got to be so negative? But right now, it's like he's just super anal about everything.
How was your interview with, because FP, I feel like, is one of the most positive individuals who covers the Giants or just period. How was your interview with him? And especially when the subject was the Giants, and also when you have a moment, Bruce Morrow's correct that the breaking news of the NBA and the NBA's Player Association coming to a new agreement. I have some information for you when we want me to report that, but I'm curious to know how it went with FP.
Well, first of all, it went great. It went great with FP. The only thing is that, I said one negative thing about the Giants, which was they're not very deep position player wise. And he's like, I disagree with you. I'm like, really? The Giants, their first baseman's Lamont Wade. Who's the backup first baseman? Go for it. Their center fielder is Mike Yastrzemski. Who's their backup outfielder? Go for it. They platoon all kinds of guys, but nobody's really established. I think the Giants are not just sort of thin. I think the Giants are one of the thinnest baseball teams I've seen maybe in my lifetime. I mean, they're super, super thin. And if anybody goes down, there's going to be minor league replacements. And he's like, no, they got great depth. So we'll see. I 3 weeks from now, when the Giants have, I don't know, just a basic 4 or 5, injuries like everybody else, look around the diamond and see who's playing, and then tell me that either FP was right and they're deep, or Krueg was right and they're thin. I feel pretty good about where I'm sitting.
Nice.
Bruce Morrow breaking. The NBA and the NBA Players Association have agreed on a new 7-year CBA, clearing the way for labor peace through this decade, sources tell ESPN. Sai, what'd you think of it?
Well, there isn't much information yet. The part that I'm really curious to learn about, and again, all we have so far are some tweets. But what we do know, well, the part that I really want to know about is whether or not there were any modifications made to penalties applied to a team's draft picks. More specifically, luxury tax penalties. I don't know if any change has been made there, because there was a lot of speculation that there could have been. But what we do know so far is that there's going to be an in-season tournament. What that means, I have no idea. And then there is
when on the schedule do you think it would be? Would it be
All-Star break?
It's going to be the All-Star break. But I mean, late in the year, because the All-Star break is not the 50-50 mark.
Correct. Yeah. So I don't
know. We're getting some sort of tournament coming up here.
We're getting some sort of tournament.
Wow.
There's going to be a 65-game minimum for postseason awards. I do like that. Although 65 is still a fairly high number, but I like it.
Seems high.
Yeah, it seems high too. Yeah, but whatever, And there's going to be new limitations on highest spending teams and expanded opportunities for trades and free agency for mid and smaller team payrolls. I have no clue what that means. That's just what Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted out.
Was there any adjustment, because we discussed this, to the bird rights and whether or not it applied to the cap?
I don't know. That's the part I'm very curious about as well. So far, this is all the information we have. So if I see anything else, I'll let you know.
Tolbert was super against not the play-in, but maybe the play-in too. But he was definitely against the in-season tournament.
Yes, I don't get it either. I
know lots of NBA players are, current players and past players are like, it's a joke. It's a terrible idea.
It's a soccer thing. They're modeling it off of what
are they playing for?
Exactly. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the point? What's the point? I don't
know if there's a way to do it. You know what I think it is that the NBA looks at college basketball and they're like, look at the ratings that this horrendous brand of ball gets. And look at our horrendous ratings right now. We want some of that. And so I think they're just looking at the format and are just like, hey, if we take the best basketball players in the world, the best officials in the world, and we do a one and done kind of a tournament and take their format, people will realize that the NCAA tournament is not all that, but it's just the format that everybody loves. I think they're trying to kind of fight back on this. I love basketball, but I hate the NBA. And there's a lot of people out there that are like in that mode of like, I love basketball, but I just hate the NBA. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if people have turned off the NBA because of some kind of other ulterior reasons, or if it's really the format. But the one thing with the college format, it's real simple. No matter what game you tune into, when you're watching the NCAA tournament, every time you turn on the TV, you're seeing a game being played. The winner of that game moves on. The loser of that game goes home. It's such an easy to understand deal that I think it's very attractive. I like the concept of it in the NBA, but there's got to be something on the table besides money for players or money for charities. It's got to be something else.
Well, I heard one idea I'd heard about the in-season tournament would be that the in-season tournament games would count towards regular season record, and then you'd lower the total number of regular season games. And I think by having that in-season tournament in there in this format, you'd be able to space out those back-to-backs, and this would lead toward a reduction in load management, because that's where a lot of the load management stuff comes from, is for back-to-back games. So
this would cut the schedule down?
So this would cut the schedule down because the games would count. One idea I heard, I can't remember who said it. I don't know who it was, but someone had an idea of the incentive for a team winning a tournament like this would be, let's say your salary cap goes up like $5 million or something like that, right? So all of a sudden your team could spend more. I like an idea like that. I think that would be awesome. I don't know if they'd go for that, but
I don't know if I like that. How about this? I mean, I don't know if I like that, because I mean, what if all of a sudden you had 5 guys on the team that were all free agents, and your team was rumored to be going after some monster free agent? I don't know. It just, the whole thing, that seems a little weird. What do you think of giving the teams that win, or the team that wins, like an extra pick after the lottery or something?
Ooh, that's a good one. A compensatory pick, like after 30. So like pick 31.
Yeah, like maybe between the first and second round. It's like,
that would
hey,
be awesome.
you made it to the finals. Or maybe it's like, hey, I don't know, maybe you made
the runner
it
up gets like another second round pick, like at the end of this.
I mean, it's an asset.
That's
an asset.
You're onto something. You are onto something, sir.
Or free beer. I don't know, free beer for the fans.
Totally.
I mean, it's got to be something. It's got to be something good. All right, we're coming up on midnight, so we're gonna call it quits right here. Guys, you got a final thought on the night? We always throw it around the room for a final thought. By the way, tomorrow, we didn't even mention this, but the Giants signed Gary Sanchez today to a minor league deal. It sounds like Joey Bart could be done with the Giants.
Why?
Giants Yankees go tomorrow. Well, they don't like Joey Bart. It's amazing. They just, he's
not Farhan's guy. Not a Farhan guy.
Farhan didn't draft Joey Bart. He drafted Patrick Bailey, so he doesn't care about Joey Bart. He actually went on the radio and said that Joey Bart, if he plays this year the way he played last year, that they're going to have to replace him. The irony is they've got 2 other guys that are in their lineup right now who played worse than Joey Bart last year, and yet those guys can continue to play like shit. They're still going to be in the lineup. I mean, it's just really kind of disturbing. You know what I mean? It really, Mike Yastrzemski and Lamont Wade have played worse than Joey Bart, and they're, and they don't have as much upside as Joey Bart, and they're, he's not telling those guys they need to play better, and they're playing worse than Bart. So I don't know. To me, Farhan lost a lot of credibility today. I think tremendous.
Yeah, like why is Roberto Perez playing over Joey Bart? Like, what does he bring to the table that Bart doesn't?
Right. And then Kapler held court in the dugout about 3 weeks ago in Arizona, and basically just kind of told everybody that the team didn't like Joey Bart, and that they didn't like where he was, and didn't, whatever. They didn't draft him. They don't believe in him. They're going to trade him.
Wow.
The irony is we were debating who's got the biggest future between Joey Bart, James Wiseman, and Trey Lance. There's a chance that all 3 of these guys are going to be traded. Now, Wiseman's already been traded. Bart, I guarantee you, is going to be traded within a few weeks. And Lance, who knows? But it doesn't look like
Bart hit 11 homers in 97 games. His average wasn't great.
Yeah, that's a 22 home run pace. The guy had 261 at bats. So Joey Bart,
and he's a catcher.
Catchers
aren't. It's not the
and they don't have anybody else.
Look for premium production. Like there's not many catchers are hitting 30 bombs, 90 RBIs.
It's a bizarre situation. It really does feel a lot like Moody versus Lamb versus Ty Jerome.
Yeah.
It's like, Ty Jerome and Lamb are, our favorite sons, and Moody is like, you better play well. Where it's the same thing, Yaz and Wade, guys hitting under 200, bring it on back, baby.
Oh my God.
Joey Bart's hitting 215. Listen, kid, you better get it going, or you're out of here. It's just so ridiculous.
Anthony Lamb scores 2 points in 22 minutes tonight. Good job, kid. You did the little things.
Oh, you can't even. Stats don't reveal the greatness of Lamb.
James Wiseman is the last, I think, full game.
Wiseman 13 and 12, and it's like, do you know what how lame his plus minus was? It's like,
just these coaches, man. Some of them just like certain people
drives
more.
me crazy when the people that just tell me, there's an old saying: stats lie, liars use statistics. Liars use statistics and stats lie. You can find a stat that will tell any narrative you want.
True.
So it's hilarious when people are like, actually, you think he's good, but he's actually really crappy. His XFIP Razor RX War is in the bottom third of the league. It's like, hey, dork, who cares? The guy was on pace for 20 bombs and he's a catcher. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Who do you guys like tomorrow? Who's going to win the Final Four?
San Diego State.
Aztec for life, baby.
I'm going UConn, and then give me San Diego State to cut down the nets.
I'm going San Diego State. San Diego State over FAU, UConn over Miami, and I'm going UConn on Monday night.
I'm going to go
95-7. Brian says, I guess I'm a huge liar. Oh, wow.
About what?
Now, because he's anti-Wiseman.
Oh.
He's anti-Wiseman. So, and
hater.
I mean, he's in, he's got, I mean, Brian knows his stuff, but I'm just saying, it's just like, my God, we can come up with so many stats that can reveal somebody's weakness, but then, once again.
So, Brian, are you making the argument that Wiseman was just trash? Is that
his argument is that
I think
Wiseman
he's going with he uses a lot of statistics, and we were talking about how liars use actually I'm going to use that phrase, Larry, about the lying.
Stats lie and liars use statistics.
Since Brian uses a lot of statistics, he's insinuating that he's a liar.
Well, and Brian, this was not directed towards you. I was just saying that, but Brian says he's a liability on defense.
Well, I'll say this, Larry, you and I had a discussion just the other day off the air about what were the biggest games for the Warriors this season, and I feel like they had 3 statement games. 2 of them were at home: Celtics, Grizzlies. The Grizzlies one was on Christmas Day, and then just recently the road game against the Mavericks. And in that Christmas Day game where they beat the Grizzlies, and that was a game that had been hyped up for 6 months, it's more than that maybe, meant the world to the Grizzlies. They came in giving it their best. And James Wiseman did fine. He played great defense. I mean, just go back to the film if you don't believe me. He was playing solid D on Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark. Grabbed 5 rebounds in 8 minutes. The people that criticize Moses Moody for his defense as well. I'm sitting there looking at tape, man, and I don't see any of it. The Wiseman thing, I feel like his liability came more so offensively, where like he'd pout if he didn't get the ball sometimes. He much preferred the pick and roll. That's much more his game than the motion style split action that Kerr likes. Defensively, I mean, yeah, he could have developed more aggressiveness there. I don't doubt that. Like,
I mean, I thought teams were attacking James Wiseman when he was on the court constantly.
Well, they were getting
pick and
fouled.
roll. Anytime Wiseman was on the court, they're running action at Wiseman. And even if he defended the first action okay, they would just reset and run another action, another pick and roll involving him. And he was sagging off. So I thought teams were attacking Wiseman and getting a lot of open looks when he was out there.
But again, he barely played, though. I mean, what I always say is he averaged, 12 minutes a game? I mean, it's impossible to not only judge someone in that limited run, but how can someone improve and develop when they're getting that limited of run? And again, the bad defense thing, again, I look at statement games when I'm judging individuals. And that Grizzlies game was one of the biggest games of the year. I did not think he was a liability on defense. And that was late. Like, that was a late December game. So you're right. In October, November, he was ripe for criticism, right? But he needed time to develop. And I really thought in that December game, he did great. And I was like, all right, this is something you could build on. And then we never saw him again. That was it. I think we saw him 1 or 2 more times after that. And it was, out of Attrition. So I hear you though. He had a lot to work on. It's just crazy that they gave up on him so fast, and Kerr just has his feelings about the youth. And Got to live with it, right?
There you go. Wasn't in the right action. Didn't get enough action. Didn't get enough action.
The Joey part.
All right, guys. We'll let you go.
Wait, hold on. I didn't get. We're going with San Diego State, and I'm going to go with Miami for the other game.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Because Rick Barry's alma mater is it
Over
Miami
UConn.
University or University of Miami?
No, Miami.
It is.
Yeah, Miami.
Yeah, that's his
He went
alma
to
mater.
Miami.
So I'm gonna that's what I'm going for, and then Aztec for life, baby. And thanks for having me, brother.
San Diego State over Miami Monday night, huh?
Yes.
All right. Cy, good seeing you, bro.
Have a great weekend.
Later, man. Baller. Really appreciated you hanging tonight.
Had a blast.
Dude,
Love
this was
talking ball with you. We mixed in, some Warriors, some NFL prospects, and I'm gonna leave you with this one because the one thing I'm looking for the Niners is I want that Leo speed rusher. I want someone coming in. He's coming in on pass rushing situations. So I've been looking at these prospects, trying to identify who's this edge rusher we can put opposite Bosa on passing downs. The guy I like, the Niners would have to move up to get him, is Herbig out of Wisconsin.
Really? I haven't studied him that much.
I really like Nick Herbig out of Wisconsin. The guy is just a pass rusher. And the one thing I noticed that Wisconsin did utilize him out wide, like in that 9 tech. So he's got experience working out wide, kind of getting that head start on tackles. He's really good with his hands. Well, I believe he had like 11 sacks last year. So I like Herbig, but later on, he might be a little too early. They might have to move up to get him. But Zach Harrison, who I know you've mentioned, I like Zach Harrison out of Ohio State. Good hands, good acceleration. He's showing some power. And then a guy who I just watched yesterday who really caught my eye later round, Thomas Nkoum out of Central Michigan.
Yeah.
I like this dude. His get off, not only is it really good, but it's consistent. It's like every snap, this guy's getting off the ball, threatening tackles. What else? Get off. Nkoum is just a pure pass rusher, speed rusher off the edge, and that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. They're saying maybe he might go late day 3, maybe it's 6th, 7th round. The Niners usually go for guys that are more like 260, 270, but there is
with
a
the
guy,
length, right? They like length too.
Yeah, they like
arms.
length, but I'll tell you, after watching Hassan Reddick on Philly's line this year, I just think that, man, if you have an interior rusher like a Javon Hargrave, and then you have a guy who has crazy speed off the edge like Hassan Reddick, that combination, man, you got to double team Bosa on the other side. You're going to have to double team Javon Hargrave inside. And just if that other defensive end really gets up the field, it really spreads your line thin.
That's what they wanted with D Ford. That's what they brought in D Ford. They need that D Ford replacement.
They need that speed rusher.
Yes,
there's a guy who I was watching
for
earlier today from Appalachian State. His name's Nick Hampton.
Nick Hampton. I got to start by his name too, Larry. I got to start by Nick Hampton.
Yeah, from Appalachian State.
Speed rusher.
Yes. And he's really, really fast. I mean, when you watch him, you're like, oh my goodness, this guy's flying. Absolutely flying off the edge. The other guy I really like, and I want you to take a look at, he's also kind of on the small side, but Jose Ramirez, who played at the same school that produced Max Crosby, Eastern Michigan. Yeah. Ramirez is also 6'2", 245. He's not the 6'5" type. And Hampton's 6'2", 236. But both these guys are Ramirez had one of the best 3-cone drills. I saw him in the East-West game, bend the edge. It was crazy the way he would flatten down the line of scrimmage to the quarterback. No wasted steps, terrific hand placement. He's really something. And then there's one other guy that you got to take a look at, and he's a day 3 guy. He might be an undrafted guy, but I'm a huge, huge fan of Mississippi State's Tyrus Wheat. 6'2", 263. But, man, this guy can get it. I mean, he can get after it. He wore number 2. This guy's already graduated. He's a grad student, and just a big time player. I mean, I when I saw him in the All-Star games, I thought, wow, look at this guy. This guy's absolutely flying. His workouts were good. Guy's got a knack to rush the passer. So Tyrus Wheat and Jose Ramirez and Nick Hampton. So take a look at those guys. Tell me what you think. Baller, good stuff, man. Have a great weekend. What do you got? Anything planned this weekend?
A lot of family stuff going on. My 6-year-old has started coach pitch. So we've been getting out there. I'm throwing him the wiffle balls. We're running the bases. A lot of fun stuff with the fam. 6 years old is a fun age. We're having a lot of fun.
Just make sure they have fun, man. Just make sure they have fun. That's the bottom line. When they have fun, they have,
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you one little trick of the trade, because I did coach Little League for a while, is if you can get them in the pregame to hit the little wiffles,
like the little golf wiffles. The golf wiffles. Yeah.
The golf wiffles. And you just sit there 3 feet away, 4 feet away, and you just toss it to them. They don't even realize that they're really focusing at that age. So you just throw them the tiny little wiffles, and they're going to miss a bunch, but then they're going to start to hit a bunch. And once they start to hit a bunch, when they go into the game, they'll hit, because the wiffle is this big and the baseball is that big. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's the little wiffles gives these kids confidence, because it actually hones their hand-eye coordination. They don't even realize that they're working on it. They don't even realize that it's harder to hit the little wiffles than the baseball, but they just makes them hit kind of the center of the ball. So there you go.
You see in some of these underprivileged countries, they're hitting bottle caps with like broomsticks.
Yes.
All right. So it's, but you're kind of going along those lines.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, if you want to talk about Willie Mays in the 50s in Harlem, they said that Willie would literally go and play stickball with the kids. Now, what were the kids hitting? They were literally using brooms and tennis balls. And so if you can hit a tennis ball with a broom, you can hit a baseball with a bat. So at least that's the theory.
Hey, Larry, thanks for the life advice and the tips. Love talking ball with you, and we'll link up here soon.
Sounds good, brother. Have a good weekend. Bay Area Baller. Outstanding. All right, that does it for us. Make sure you check out Pig in a Pickle. They're in Corte Madera, and they're in Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. They're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. They're inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace. If you haven't been to Pig in a Pickle, you need to try it. If you're in Marin, it's right there in the mall, and if you're not sure what it looks like, well, it looks like this.
So New York style sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
All right, coming down the home stretch on a Friday night. A couple of the starred chats. Amar Singh says Wiseman shooting 17% from 3 on the Pistons. Brian Iglesias earlier today said Wiseman wasn't ready to play winning basketball. He wanted to play outside in when the Warriors wanted him to play inside out. He needs to grow, and it wasn't worth it for him to grow in Golden State. Amar Singh says Wiseman shooting like 24% from 3. Jesus, our Jesus Christ, my King, says, light the beam. G. Martinez, one more on Wiseman. Wiseman is a backup. Amar Singh, Pistons are 1-15 with Wiseman. He's been terrible. And there you go. One more here from Bruce. He says, Warriors are deeper than the Suns. The depth got lost in the KD trade. All right. That's going to do it for us. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Warriors get a nice win at home. Golden State takes on the Denver Nuggets on Sunday in Denver. Golden State's got 4 games left on the season. They're 41-37. And now with the win tonight, they go 3-0 this year against the San Antonio Spurs. But thank you to everybody who supported the channel today and everybody who's been in the live stream. Also, let's check the count on subscribers here. And we are at 15,923. So we are probably a day or two away from closing in on 16,000. So if you're in the chat and you've yet to hit like and subscribe, please do hit like and subscribe, and it will help us grow the channel. We've got this one, New Dawn, Red October, Dub Nation, just a Dub Nation. And then Michael said, so Joey Bart on the move. Michael, it sounds like it. It sounds like Joey Bart most definitely is on the move. And so am I. Thanks to everybody. We'll see you later on this weekend on the Krueg Show.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.